6 a.m. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. Great to be back on the radio with you, Bill.
Yeah. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a fantastic weekend. I was hanging out
Excellent.
with friends out in Laguna Niguel, California.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going to say bless you. I thought it was
doesn't get much worse than that. Beautiful beaches.
Oh, nice.
I was with the great vast right-wing conspiracy as we plan to take back this country.
How's the plot going? Is it good so far?
It's I don't think it's a lot that we have in control these days. But.
I agree with that.
Did you catch the Oscars?
Yes, I did, actually. It's those big award shows are special in our house because it's something that my wife grew up watching with her mom. So those are special nights where, as a loving husband and one that wants to stay married, you give the wife deference and you allow her the big TV in the big room rather than anywhere else in the house. And so we turned it on. She came downstairs and watched most of it. And, I have watched those award shows with her for years. I've stepped away a little bit when they got way too political.
Yeah.
And this one was okay. It wasn't.
Let's talk about John Cena.
Yeah. It wasn't as overtly political as it had become, but
until the very end.
Yeah, there were points. There were points of it where okay, fine, but and I appreciate the emotion in artists like Emma Stone and Billie Eilish and Phineas. Those are the winners that I tune in for. The ones that are overcome with the emotion, the ones that aren't there to make that political statement. I'm there to see you guys have fun and to celebrate each other.
Right.
I don't want any sort of speeches or anything like that. I want you to talk about why it means to you. Don't bring politics into this for this night. That's just, I don't care what your politics are. It's just for me, it's just celebrate each other. Please.
Well, there's a lot of celebrating each other. My goodness.
Yeah, there is.
It's a bit of a love fest.
Yeah.
Two big moments. One, John Cena nude on the stage. Oh man, college was back. You loved it, huh?
Oh, the thing for me is I loved it because John Cena made his bones as a professional wrestler.
As a wrestler, right.
So he basically came of age and learned how to perform dressing in tight spandex with body oil, fake fighting other men. And he was very good at it. I appreciate him. So the idea that he's able to do this, I'm like, great. Of anybody in the audience, I'm like, yeah, you're going to take the former professional wrestler. The one guy, of course he's going to do that. And I love the fact that he's just not afraid. He's willing to be that much of an idiot.
He's like, normally I'm in jorts.
Yes, exactly. He's not afraid of making fun of himself. And I enjoy that about him. I like the idea that he'll clown on himself and he'll be that goof. And it wouldn't have made sense in my mind for anybody else to do it. Cena's the one that can do it. I mean, he's the one that back in the day, you'd have someone like The Rock that would also take that risk because they're used to it, the Dwayne Johnson. So you wouldn't, someone like a John Cusack. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Matthew McConaughey, that you're like, what? It doesn't make any sense. For Cena, that's on brand. And so I enjoyed that. That kind of, of anybody in the audience, that's the guy to get.
It did get definitely political at the very end. We'll get to that in a second. But blocks away from the Oscars red carpet, several hundred protesters called for a ceasefire to the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, while winners used their speeches to decry the humanitarian crisis in the region, along with the one sparked by Russia's invasion in Ukraine. The pro-Palestinian demonstration in the heart of Hollywood snarled traffic around the Dolby Theater, the venue where the show is held, resulting in a late start for the ceremony as A-listers scrambled to make it to their seats. They had to get out and walk a little bit, I guess. So
yeah, I got to share something with you, though. I just got in trouble for my wife. Got to share with you.
What'd she say?
She's running late this morning. Because I'm sorry, I have to share this. I have to share this right now. I can't stop not sharing this one. I just got in trouble just a little bit because my wife's running 10 minutes late this morning because we have this thing in our house where in our bedroom, time exists differently in our bedroom than it does anywhere else in the house. And it's an agreement my wife and I have come to. She likes to have the clock in our bedroom 10 minutes ahead. Why? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Every time I'm in the bathroom, I'm doing math. I don't
Right,
know. It's
to
not for me.
subtract,
Yeah, so
right.
10 minus that.
My wife's the same way.
Hate it. But for my lovely bride, I can do the math. It's only 10 minutes, not a big deal. So we can do that. Well, we did the whole stupid spring forward thing, and I set the clocks, and I didn't do the 10 minutes. So she's like, "Hey, I'm 10 minutes late today. Wonder why?" Like, oh yeah, sorry about that, babe. I appreciate you. Like, oh, sorry. Yeah,
Busted.
So I totally busted. But it's just, and I'm sure you do too. They're the bubbles. You have this bubble in the house where one part of the house is in a different time than anything else in the house, and I don't know why. It's a woman thing, but okay, I'll play along.
They all
Fine.
like to set their clocks. My wife
why.
and my daughter do the same exact thing.
I don't know why.
I don't get it either.
Yeah, for me, it's just you're making me do math. Don't do that. That's a bad thing. Okay,
Well,
sorry. Continue with the Oscars. I
No,
apologize.
we're going to get to that. We're going to play some audio from Jimmy Kimmel at the very end, of course, having to interrupt the Oscars because Donald Trump posted on Truth Social. So you're going to hear that in a second. It triggered Jimmy, and then Jimmy had quite a response back to Donald Trump. Isn't it past your jail time?
Yeah.
So
Ouch.
it was.
Don't trade Barb's the comic. You're never gonna win that. There's never a time in which you are going to come out on top when you're trading liners the comic. It's just not gonna work. Don't pick the fight. Just don't do it.
We'll get to that and more. Let's go to the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
I would have said that 10 years ago when Kimmel was actually funny.
Yeah,
so
right. You sound like Trump. That was basically it.
Hey, listen. Okay. All right. We're going to have news. Hey, good to hear you guys back. I missed you on Friday. I had no idea you weren't going to be here. I kind of felt weird. So
we kept you out of the loop on that one.
Yeah,
huh?
exactly. Thanks a lot. And I do 10 minutes fast also, Billy. Just so
really?
You know.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Have to, man. I mean, because if you're 5 minutes ahead of time, you're late, right? If you're on time, you're late and all that stuff, all that military stuff, All right, 33 and cloudy, mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 60s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the outcome of more than 650 legal cases across the state are in question. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says a longtime forensic scientist tampered with DNA testing results from 2008 to last year. A special team spent the last 5 months going over her work and released results on Friday saying the manipulations appear to have been intentional. Investigators plan to look at even more cases dating back to 1994 when Yvonne Woods was hired. She left the agency in November, just before all this was made public. Vice President Kamala Harris is returning to Colorado tomorrow. It'll be her 4th visit here, which is part of a 4-state trip following President Biden's State of the Union address last week. Harris will be giving a speech in Denver to talk about historic investments in supporting small business. Speaking of Harris, Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador, is troubled by her comments that she said that the Biden administration distinguishes between the people of Israel and the government of Israel.
I, an Israeli, am very offended by that. I'm not going to defend our government, certainly not many policies, and certainly not many of the ministers in that government who I find offensive. But what that remark says is that we don't really respect Israeli democracy. And the only country on that list has never known a moment of peace. I think a little respect for our democracy from our Democratic ally is called for.
Colorado lawmakers are closer to getting a list of long-term property tax solutions. The deadline to submit recommendations to the General Assembly is Friday. They're coming from a commission created during last year's special session on property taxes. The governor called for that after Proposition HH failed to pass. Alabama Republican Senator Katie Britt is defending her attack on President Biden in her State of the Union response. Britt shared the story of a young woman she met who was a victim of human trafficking between 2004 and 2008, using the woman's experience to attack Biden.
She is a victim's right advocate who is telling this is what drug cartels are doing, this is how they're profiting off of women, and it is disgusting. And so I am hopeful that it brings some light to it, and we can actually do something about human trafficking, and that's what the media actually decides to cover.
Britt told Fox News while the incident didn't happen under Biden's watch, it's emblematic of his current border policy. She said the president's executive actions have invited the crisis at the border and human trafficking is up. The news brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. And I'm sure you've already heard the news, but former Denver Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson is headed to Pittsburgh to play for the Steelers.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. But
Enjoy that.
Sometimes changes scenery sometimes. And, I think it always comes back to the offensive line in situations like these. So don't be surprised if he has a good year. You never know. I'm telling you. What's that?
What does it say that there was a lot of league interest for Russ? I mean, not a ton. It wasn't like, they weren't beating down his door, but there were several teams that were very interested in the Steelers made a hard play for him. And they already have their young kid. Now, Mason Rudolph his contract's up, so he's going to hit free agency. Mm-hmm. But they've got, what is it, Pickett? I think it is the kid. Yeah, they've got him. So Pitt. So is he is Russ coming in to compete against Pickett? I mean, I don't think he's a backup, but also, what does it say about all the interest about him?
See, I think it. The first thing you think about, oh my goodness, the state of quarterbacks in the NFL. But I also think, Billy, more than anything else, I think there's no time for development in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, if you get it's now or never. And we used to wait around and, you'd wait for Steve Young to get the opportunity after Montana leaves and
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, same thing. And this day and age, man, I mean, you roll the dice and see what happens. And if they don't deliver in 17 weeks, see ya.
Now, speaking of rolling the dice, do you roll the dice on Sam Darnold for the Broncos? Because of all the names out there, he's the sexiest. But I'm not sure it makes any sense.
Well, my kids think so, but at the same time, that's it. To me, it's really it's a 50-50 on that one.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, the way I look at it, but we'll see. It should be fun. Be fun to watch the Steelers. If you're a Steelers fan, maybe we'll see.
Really good friend of mine is. I'm going to hear about this all season. He's going to hit me on social media all season long. I'm going to hear from you, Mr. Kaiser. I appreciate it.
Go. There's the drama that we look for. 30 in Greenwood Village, 28 in Boulder, 33 in Denver. Jeff and Bill have just kicked off the week. They have kicked it off and they continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
That heavy snow is going to come on Thursday. That's going to be one of those branch breakers.
That's going to suck. That really stinks. That is the hard part. And those are the ones that kill the early buds that are out there.
Right,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spring is peaking.
Yeah, it is.
Nice days today. Yeah, 65 today and Tuesday, and then that Thursday.
I was going to remember in Colorado, heavy. March, you get at least one heavy snowfall
every time. Yep. That is exactly right. All right, so yesterday, Donald Trump Truth Socials to Jimmy Kimmel during the Oscars, and Jimmy's got to break in towards the end of the Oscars to read and respond to it. The fight continues. Here's the audio.
Doing this show is not about me, and I appreciate you having me. It's really about you
it's always
Emma
about
and
you,
all these
Jimmy.
great actors and actresses and filmmakers. But I was told we have like an extra minute, and I'm really proud of something. I was wondering if I could share it with you. I just got a review, and Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now, see if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth Social. Anyone?
Good.
No?
That's good.
Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time?
So that's a good line. That's a
Yeah.
funny line. That was a good response. But, obviously, Jimmy got a little triggered by the fact that Donald Trump even messaged that. The fact that Trump can break through that love fest, that self-love fest, what we call the Oscars, and get them to respond. That was, here we go. It's election season.
Yeah, it is. And again, don't pick the fight with the comic. Don't do that. It's never going to end well. And it was interesting that you could tell that he was fighting a secondary battle. It had zero to do with the Oscars. It had to do with Stephanopoulos going after Nancy Mace earlier in the day.
That's
so
right.
It really had nothing to do with it. And so he took that shot, and Jimmy's like, okay, sucker. It's okay. I mean, that was such an easy thing for Jimmy to respond to. I just like, wow, to me, that's an unforced error. It's one of those that
Really?
I
saw it a little different. I love the fact that Trump can do that and play at that level with guys like Jimmy, because every other Republican I've ever known, Mitt Romney, George W. Bush, John McCain, they're all just kind of, proper statesmen. They would never, first of all, send the message. Secondly, the message would never be so palpable as to interrupt a live broadcast from the Oscars to force them to respond to it.
See, the thing that I think is interesting is the idea that you said forced. For me, it's the idea that Kimmel could have done a dozen different things. And he's like, look, Larry the Clown did this stupid thing on his own Truth Social thing again. Let's bring let's put the clown back on front because it's an easy joke. This is an easy setup for him. There are a dozen other things he could have tried to do something in the audience. There could have been an awkward speech. All they had to do is he just had to throw a punch at a guy that said, "Hi, hit me." That's what it was. That's how I see it.
I saw like Jimmy is triggered more than that.
No, not in the least.
I saw him as I can't let this thing go.
No, not in the least, because again, and then the one for me is that I don't see him triggered. I see it as, okay, chuckles. Okay. And because you gave me the opportunity, to punch you in the face publicly. Okay. I'm going to take it. I don't think he was triggered in any way, shape, or form by it. And the only reason I say that is because Jimmy recently was accused by Aaron Rodgers of being a child molester. So the idea that message triggers Jimmy, I'm like, no. He has people that are saying a lot worse things about him a lot more times a day than that. And that to me that was an opportunity. That was an opportunity for an open joke at a guy that set himself up. That's what I saw in that one, is that Trump made this an issue. So, okay. Yeah.
What do you think of the applause and the kind of cheering?
That's the audience.
That's Hollywood, right?
Yeah. That's the Hollywood audience.
The Hollywood's anti-Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, De Niro's up, and we've seen what De
Niro
he is. Yeah,
has gone insane.
Oh yeah, but they're very anti-Trump.
Language.
Yeah, they are anti-Trump. I mean, they had the anti-Israel, the pro-Palestinian Hamas protest around the street. Yeah, that's how they roll. So of course it was going to get a laugh, and that's why Jimmy brought it up. What's the one thing he can do what's the one joke that can land that the whole audience is going to get behind? That's it. He can't make fun of Taylor. He can't do something with Travis Kelce. He can't do that. What is the one thing that he could do that's going to land that the entire room is going to cheer? And it's late.
And that right there is why Trump people love Trump.
Yeah.
Because that entire room of narcissistic leftists hate him so much, and he gets them going. So
Although it is
There you
odd
go.
that you use the word narcissist to describe that room versus someone else in the conversation. I'll just leave that out there. It's interesting, but that's the thing. That's the thing.
Speaking of narcissists
Yes.
being triggered, Biden apologizes. Did you hear this?
Yes.
Not for mispronouncing Laken Riley's name.
Yeah. Again, though, really? We're going to get mad over mispronouncing the name? We're mad that Grandpa mispronounces the name. Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because she's
Really?
a sweet, innocent girl that was murdered.
Hang on. I mean, again,
and you should have more respect for that.
I understand that. But again, it's Grandpa. I mean, again, if we were talking about someone in their 40s, 50s, even early 60s, the fact that Laken becomes Lincoln, I mean, do we have to go with the mispronunciations by the other person in the race? This is what we're going to get. We are going to get a flood of mispronunciations. I thought it was interesting that everybody got all mad over the fact that he screwed the name up. Well, yeah, he's going to mumble the name, but he got it right based on the situation and who she was. And the other thing is, again, this is the part of my dark heart, okay? This is the part of my dark heart in this situation when everybody got mad about the fact that he mumbled the name. You named her Laken. How many times do you think her name's been screwed up her entire life? How many times as a kid did that happen growing up? And so I'm just saying, I understand the respect of why he should know it. I get it, but you didn't name her Sally. That would have been easy for Biden. Okay, so the idea that an unusual name trips him up, I would also not be as offended if Trump mushmouth through it that we've seen recently.
But there's a lot more than this. He has not called the family. Trump has called the family. Trump's met with them.
That is fair, but
she could
talking about
easily
the name.
Become the most important figure in this entire election.
I completely disagree on that.
Cannot connect and remember her name.
Oh, it's not that he didn't remember her name. He messed it up. He knew who he picked up the button.
I don't think he even knows who she is.
He picked up the button. Oh yeah, he knows. But it is fair. It is fair criticism to say that he has not reached out and he hasn't called. But he picked up the button. He knows the story. He knows who she is, and he messed up the name. Yes, he messed up the name. Grandpa messed up the name. Okay, we got a dude that's 80 running for president. What are you gonna expect? I'm surprised he doesn't mess up more names. Same thing with Trump. I mean, Trump couldn't say Venezuela the other day.
He went on the news on Saturday to apologize.
Yeah, and that was,
but not for Laken Riley's name.
That was ridiculous. That was crap.
New York Post reporting this: President Biden sparked outrage on Saturday as he apologized in a news interview for using the word illegal to describe Laken Riley's alleged killer during his State of the Union
Not an easy name.
However, the embattled commander-in-chief failed to apologize or even acknowledge that he butchered the murder victim's name twice as Lincoln Riley during the same address.
When, again, are we familiar? I mean, this may come up later, but Trump mistakes Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. I mean, that's a different person. I mean, again, I'm just talking about standards. If we're sitting here saying, the guy running for the Democrats can't do that, well, take a picture of who's running for the other side. I mean, it's a fair criticism, but we're running to grandpas. What are we expecting at this point? I mean, when you've got an 81-year-old president, what do you really expect? Exact syntax is not going to be there. That's just it. If it was something where he seemed oblivious to the story, that's an issue. And I do disagree with the idea that he apologizes over the illegality. That bothers me a lot personally. It does. Yeah. Because for me, that's playing the semantic game. It's falling into that he was in the country illegally. Deal with it. It's, I haven't seen anything that says he had any sort of an asylum claim. Haven't seen anything about that. And that would give him temporary citizenship. My impression, and again, I can be wrong, but what I know about it is he crossed the border illegally and came in here illegally and had been using some fake documents earlier, got deported, came back, didn't have any documents now, and was just, under the radar. The classic illegal immigrant tale. That's it. So I feel it is fair to use that label. And I completely disagree with Biden coming out and apologizing for it, because for me, it changes the conversation. It shows that I don't think that he is as serious as he pretends to be.
The newcomers. They're newcomers. They're not illegals. They're newcomers.
I know. That's, again, no.
Text messages are back and forth on this.
Already.
Doesn't Trump own Truth Social Network? Kimmel gave him free advertising. I think Trump won that one.
I don't
Other
know about
ones
that.
going
Unless
are the
numbers go
president
up.
should be a statesman, not an 8th grade paste eater
That's funny.
that has to bark at everyone to show how cool and smart he is. I disagree. I like the fact that.
Yeah, but this did not work out well for him.
No, I totally thought it did.
He did not come out of that looking great. It did not.
Grandpa can acknowledge Floyd George.
Yeah.
Is it George Floyd?
Yeah, it is, but I think they did on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to done deference. I'm assuming they did on purpose, which makes sense. So, just messing them up. Yeah.
Trump said John Floyd.
Yeah, I'm sure. The whole thing is that this is going to be the problem. Yes, Biden is an aged man.
They're both old men.
So is Trump. Yeah, and that's the issue. And that's why I sat here and I've had the conversation, people on the air and off the air, that the smartest thing would have been to nominate Haley, because that is a stark difference to say, nope, we can't have this aged man running the country. The people that are persuaded on the age argument are not going to look at Biden and then look at Trump and see a young man versus an old man. They're going to see two grandpas. That's what they're going to see. So you can't make that argument. You have evaporated, and that's the problem. The argument that Biden's too old to do this evaporates because you're running Trump. And I understand it is convincing to a segment of the population, but it's not convincing to the people in which you need to convince. And those are the people that are the unaffiliated and the soft Democrats. They're not going to be convinced that somehow Trump is this viral young man and that Biden is his daughter an old fool, because that's not what they see. And that's a problem.
We'd love to get your thoughts on all this, from the Oscars to the Jimmy Kimmel's response on Truth Social to this issue here, Laken Riley and Joe Biden apologizing on Saturday, not for mispronouncing Laken Riley's name, but for calling the killer of Laken Riley an illegal.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about Katie Britt going all... So as Scarlett Johansson said on Saturday Night Live, scary mom. Wow.
Right. We can get to all of that. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Hey, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, address them all with the Advanced Hair's simple one-day solution treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. Call 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Why are we not seeing this? Why am I not hearing this?
pop punk. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. They're these guys. Yeah, kind of punk. They're a little. Yeah. I guess you can go.
But it's
pop
poppy.
punk, sort of.
It's
Yeah.
Taylor Swift punk.
No, I wouldn't go that far. And Green Day. They're pop punk, but you'd have to go back into Kerplunk, early Dookie, not necessarily that poppy. Even Nimrod, not necessarily. Yeah, if you go into that. Have you ever gotten into early Green Day, the early Kerplunk?
No.
2,000 light years away. No. Kristi Road. No. Okay. Yeah, that was lit. That's
He's an audiophile. That's what you call these folks.
Yeah, it's their new album is really good too. Yeah. They got a new single, Dilemma, right now. That's doing really, really well in the charts. And Pearl Jam this week. Wow. Oh my goodness. Dark Matter, new single, hits #1 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts. 26 years after their previous song went #1. Would you guess what that song is? There's no way you're gonna know the song.
No.
There's no way. Given to Fly.
Never.
Which
I don't
is
even know that one.
Again, one of the most underrated Pearl Jam songs out there. It is a fantastic song. The opening guitar riff is absolutely poetic in nature. It is unbelievable. For me, it's one of my top 5 Pearl Jam songs of all time, Given to Fly. It's fantastic, but it flies under the radar. You never hear it on the radio because it's not. Yeah, it didn't hang around. People don't think of it, but it's magic. For me, that's one of those that if I said, okay, take me through Pearl Jam. That is Black has got to be there. You've got to have either Even Flow or Live, because Black is unrequited love. That's that the message inside of there is just will twist your head. Yeah. If you go back and listen to Black, Eddie Vedder is talking about how, in theory, that the only really true love is the unrequited love because it's the only love that can be pure. Everything else has mixes in and becomes faulted or broken, and that's the only one that is pure. And why? It's just God.
Philosopher. Eddie Vedder.
Those lyrics, spend some time in them. They're really remarkable. But yet, Given to Fly is another one that is flies under the radar. It is remarkable. It's a remarkable song by them. Yeah, but Dark Matter's the new one. So
let's go to Dwayne and Divide. Dwayne, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen, and a good week ahead. By the way, Billy, as far as unrequited love goes, it's called stalking.
That's actually there's a song by Corey Taylor that he has out. It's a single. Corey Taylor's from lead singer in Slipknot and also Stone Sour and does some solo stuff. He's got one out right now that he says, well, this started out as kind of an aggressive love song. And I'm like, no, Corey, that's called stalking. We have laws against that. Yes. Yeah, so that's what he was going with. But I appreciate that. How are you, my friend?
Mm-hmm. I'm okay. I hear you. And every time you go on these music rants, and Jeff, give me 30 seconds. Please. Go to my point. Every time I hear this, all I see is the meme of Wayne Knight where he says, so you took the music all the way up to the post. Isn't that amazing, everybody? And he turns around and says, see, nobody cares. I kind of like that with some of this stuff. Just so you know.
Oh, I understand. I appreciate it.
I love you dearly. But,
Oh, I know.
Anyway.
But there's someone out there, they'll get it. Someone is going to go pick up their old Pearl Jam catalog and find Given to Fly today and rediscover it. And so that's why we do it.
Yeah, I know. My son sits there, and he can't do 3 times 3, but he can tell you what played on Casey Kasem on June 19th, 1978, number 33 with a bullet.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so as we go into all this here, Jeff, you have to sit there and admire a man who can sit there and stop the Oscars, a worldwide broadcast.
Yes.
While he's getting ready to sit and do public and at least make $4 billion.
Good point.
And to sit there and shut down young Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy should have waited. To sit there and do it during the Oscars, in my opinion, Trump owned him. Trump truly owned Jimmy Kimmel to sit there and get a worldwide audience.
That's exactly how I felt too.
How did he own him? Help me understand that. How are you getting to that? Because the jokes that landed were from Jimmy's side, not Trump's side. So where's how is it an ownership?
Jimmy responded.
Yep.
Much like when Governor Romer was having the problem about having a young lady in the car and everything else. You may not remember this.
Oh, I remember.
But I had press credentials at the time. And as I was waiting for my turn to talk, I held my hand up and I said, Governor Romer, were those Bugle Boy jeans you were wearing around your ankles when she was taking care of you? And 2 state patrolmen hauled me out of there. And I was like, America wants to know, Governor, were they Bugle Boy jeans? Yes or no? Okay. And one last thing, Bill, again, I love you, but mispronouncing the name, of the young lady.
Yeah.
To her family, it means everything, as I said last week. And I'm sorry I brought that in, and I have to come back again. Okay, it's been 30 years plus. Doesn't matter to anybody else. Her family have moved on. They're gone. They've moved to the next death row coil. But for me, I saw an illegal for 11 years, 9 months and 17 days until he died. And I stood out there watching his damn funeral, and I went over and peed on his grave because I couldn't take him out without anything else. Yeah. But for me, every day I lost.
Oh, I understand.
So for me,
and
my point, okay, I don't want anything to happen to anybody's family. I don't. I'm not vindictive. I'm not, one of these crass people that go out there and chase the thing. But I say to you, for those of us that are the closest to these people, I want them to pronounce it. I want them to spell it out. And this crap about, oh, I'm sorry that I said illegal. No. Would you open your door to just anybody and let them in the house? Oh, simple answer. No. Would you let them come in and start eating out of your refrigerator again? No. That's it. Why is that? Oh, because it's illegal for them to come into your house without being given permission. Okay? That's where it comes down to. Bottom line, black and white. You crossed the border. You did so without proper vetting and authorization. You are an illegal.
Yeah, I don't argue the point on the illegals, and especially I think it's wrong for Biden to apologize because I think it's an appropriate statement. My point on the name is just I'm not surprised that Grandpa messed it up, and I know that it is hurtful for the family. The thing for me is I think it's more hurtful for him not to have reached out, from my understanding, that he hasn't yet and hasn't spoken with them. That to me is more hurtful than the messing up of the name. And again, in that public setting, it's Grandpa's going to mess the name up. Both of them are. They're going to do it routinely. So the idea that we made a big deal about it, I just thought it was much ado about, a small slight that, yes, hurt the family, but in the large scheme of things, given that everybody was convinced he didn't even know who she was or wasn't going to mention the name, it's, for me, I think it was looking for a tiny thing when he did the bigger thing, when actually, held up the pin and recognized it.
MTG screwed stuff up though, because he was about to go into a comatose, I'm wetting myself moment, and she had to shove it in. We could have had him on stage doing the Mitch McConnell, where am I? What am I doing? And why do I feel warm right now in places I shouldn't feel warm?
Oh, I didn't see that. I like the fact that she got him because Joe Biden, and I even said this prior to the State of the Union, he can read a teleprompter well. He screamed too much, and he looked like he was pepped up for sure. But he can generally get through that. It's when he gets off his game that he really starts to mess up, and MTG got him on his heels.
I'm not sure.
Well, he was certainly messed up. There was no discussion there in any way, shape, or form. But we had a chance for the entire country to see him less than stellar, and it was cut short.
Oh, I think he came across as yelling way too much. We'll get to that and more. Dwayne, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Hey, do you have a high school student considering their college plans? Are they ready to discover more about their gifts and talents? Do you hope to see them become part of the next generation of Christian leaders? Your student is invited to Colorado Christian University's Discovery Preview. This is a week-long event, and it's completely free. Discovery Preview is designed for students who desire to seek God's purpose and calling in their lives. Students are immersed in the community, culture, and mission of CCU. Workshops focused on calling, career, and Christ-centered leadership help them explore their unique strengths and potential career options. Their Christ-centered community takes students on a Colorado adventure to experience the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. Eligible students can also qualify for a $1,250 annual scholarship just for attending. Don't miss Discovery Preview this summer, June 17th through the 21st. The event is designed for seniors and juniors in high school. And again, it's absolutely free. To learn more, go to ccu.edu/discovery. That's ccu.edu/discovery. All right, we're going to get to You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. The Biden administration is slated to release its 2025 budget on Monday. Last week, the president proposed raising taxes on big corporations and giving young Americans a leg up on the property ladder. But Republicans have already proposed their own budget plan, which aims to massively reduce federal spending. Republicans want a $14 trillion budget cut to balance the books within a decade. The White House says that would benefit rich special interests. Gum makers are trying to figure out what will make Americans start chewing again. In New York, Haley Bianco has more.
Generational habits, health concerns, and the coronavirus pandemic have gnawed away at gum sales in the U.S. So much so that some manufacturers are leaving the country's market altogether. But Mars, which owns the 133-year-old Wrigley brand, is trying to reposition gum as a stress reliever and as a concentration aid, as well as a breath freshener. A Mars executive says the aha moment came from a nurse in a hospital COVID-19 ward who chewed gum behind a mask to calm herself. Market research firm Circana says U.S. chewing gum sales rose less than 1% last year to 1.2 billion packages, which was still 32% fewer than in 2018.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, good morning, Denver. Let's get to You Choose the News with Mr. Bill Thorpe.
And now I got to turn on my microphone. See, I had a hot mic moment earlier, and we had to figure this out as I'm trying to do a new system now. That's right. It is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You choose the news. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this weekend for really, really dumb stories in order to play this fake radio news game. Why? Oh, because nobody in charge is actually up and awake at this time. So Blake Olson is going to be joining us from our newsroom as well in order to play. All righty, sir. Here are our headlines this morning. Headline number 1, Biden's big weekend adventure. Headline number 2, opening up a can of whoop-ass. Headline number 3, isn't there a video or something? And headline number 4, maybe they did it for the pudding. All righty. What do you choose, sir?
Let's do some pudding.
All right, maybe they did it for the pudding. This we are traveling to England. There is a small cafe owner who is now facing online hatred and abuse because he's vegan, his wife's vegan, the cafe was vegan until recently. In order to make some more money, profits have been down. They've added a few non-vegan items to the menu. And the vegans are mad. They're mad and they are threatening to fight back. But of course, we've seen them, so it's going to take them a while. And
right,
they're
have
not
no
very
muscle
strong.
mass.
Yeah,
They don't
exactly.
need
So,
protein.
yes, now he's saying, listen, he goes, I'm not saying that I'm not vegan. I just think other people could possibly enjoy other choices, maybe in the restaurant, and we could make more money. And the vegans have been yelling, heathen! And he's like, and I just want to speak to him and say,
sell out.
yeah, I'm just saying, the meat's delicious, right? I mean, they're
is.
really good. I mean, and they're easy to chase and they're easy to catch. I mean, it's just, have you tried it? It's very good. But oh well, I like the idea that they're all mad because he's like, I just want to offer more items on the menu. I'm not saying you have to.
That's when it becomes a religion for those folks.
Exactly.
And you're an apostate.
Yep. And the weird thing is that he said majority of the abuse is not from in and around the area or his customers. It's all international online abuse. So it's like, that's great. Because the internet.
Honey, you'll never guess what I did with my morning.
Yeah, exactly.
I really went after that guy that, abandoned his vegan values out in, where was it?
Yeah, it's in England.
In England. And I 1 star.
Yeah, 1
1
star.
star.
1 star on Yelp. Yeah. All righty. Second choice, sir. Biden's big weekend adventure, opening up a can of whoop-ass, or isn't there a video or something?
Whoop-ass.
Opening a can of whoop-ass. We are going to Baltimore for this one. Around 5 o'clock in the evening recently, when officers were patrolling Light Street, they were flagged down by a bystander who said an assault was going on over on West Lombard. Officers arrived. They found a 57-year-old man attacking a 49-year-old man with a can opener. Yes, evidently got into some sort of a disagreement, and the 57-year-old man decided to take matters into his own hands and chose a can opener to do it. I just want to know what the other choices were. And now he was stabbing the guy on top of his head, so he is trying to open the brains, I guess, and get to the creamy center. But the thing is that what were the other choices of weapons? I mean, what did he have in front of him?
It reminds me of Jason Bourne when he kills the guy with a pen or rolled out newspaper.
Is that what he did? He's like, I'm gonna go Jason Bourne on you, mister. You have no idea. You have any idea how I can kill you with this can opener? The guy's like, I'm not as afraid as you think I should be. But okay, yeah, that's a weird one. All righty. Blake Olson from our news department, sir. You make the final choice this morning. Big responsibility. Biden's big weekend adventure, or isn't there a video or something?
Let's take Biden's big weekend adventure for 100, Bill.
Biden had a big weekend adventure recently in Ohio. This happened only a couple of days ago. 2 Ohio women are now facing charges because they went all weekend at Bernie's with their friend that died. An 80-year-old man, they propped him up in the car and took him to the bank and had him withdraw money from his account through the ATM.
No way.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, they drove around. They did a little weekend at Bernie's, and now they're being charged with, taking the body and taking the money from him and everything else.
Don't worry,
yeah.
that's just the entire Democrat operation
I know.
these days.
It's like,
Why is that news?
I know, exactly. Well, that is it. Thank you so much, Blake. I appreciate you joining us. We'll chat with you in just a couple minutes. And that is it. That is the end of You Choose the News. We have had enough silliness this morning, and the bosses are about to wake up. But remember, this You Choose the News is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, or even associated with Roll 'em Out Shelves, because they are a reputable company. Book them for a free in-home estimate today. Organize your kitchen or bath. See them at Roll 'em Out Shelves. They'll make everything easier to reach. The back of the pantry, the back of that big thing that you have where the pots and the pans are, and you can never get to the back, they will fix it for you. But do not mention You Choose the News. They'll treat you very nicely. If you mention Salem and 710 KNUS, you mention this, they'll probably hurt you. You have been warned. All righty, back to you, sir. That's the end of You Choose the News.
That was great, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
That was great. All right. So there are people texting in on this that prior to the State of the Union, I said I would wear a Joe Biden hat if
Yeah, I
Joe
recall that.
Biden said Laken Riley's name. And the night of the State of the Union, I even tweeted out, do you think what he said qualifies as Laken Riley's name?
Sure it does.
No way.
Sure it
So
does.
here I have built a hat. I've designed a hat that says her name is Laken Riley.
Okay, as long as it says Biden on it, we're good. Yeah. I mean, as long as it says Joe Biden, her name is Laken, yeah, we're good. But it's got to have Biden on there. It's got to have
Biden on there.
Has to. Yeah.
I'll
has to.
compromise on that so long as we're actually making it clear. He didn't say her name. He said Lincoln Riley,
He did too.
which is a coach for some football team.
He did too. Oh, and and you saw that with Pat McAfee, right?
No.
The idiot. God, I'm sorry. I mean, again, nice guy it seems, but just stay in your lane. The guy, and he's the former punter NFL and has a show on ESPN. And he was all. I was confused because on my social medias, all of a sudden said something about Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
And I was worried
Twitter.
about the coach. Going, yeah, you're an idiot.
Twitter
Like, I
was
can't
all
help
over
it.
that. Lincoln Riley, Laken Riley. He
Oh, I
does say
know.
Lincoln. I went back
Absolutely, he
and listened to
does.
that over and over again. He
Yes.
says Lincoln
Yep,
Riley.
He totally does. Absolutely. I heard the first time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Am I surprised? Not in the least, because they're going to mispronounce. Both of them are going to mispronounce things over and over and over. This is just chapter 1. I mean, there's going to be a long list of things. There's going to be montages of stuff both candidates are going to mispronounce. We're going to have that. They're going to be ads. Just prepare yourself. That's what we've chosen. We have decided this ourselves. That because as the voters, we can't blame anybody else. We can't blame anyone. These are the choices we put in front of ourselves and said, yeah, guys, this is what we want to do.
In the 7 o'clock hour, Ryan Armagost is going to join us. He is pressing down at the state capitol to impeach Jenna Griswold.
Interesting.
He would like to have a vote on that. And of course,
why not?
with so many Republicans down there, I'm sure it'll pass.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We'll get the details on
Democrats are
that.
gonna get right on that one.
And more. Give us a call, 303-696-1971.
Democrats are about accountability. Yeah.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
We're off and running 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. So grateful you are joining us and you're sharing your thoughts with us on the 710 KNUS text line or giving us a call at 303-696-1971. Hello, I do not think Lincoln qualifies as Laken. Besides, if MTG hadn't been wearing and yelling say her name, Biden would have never attempted to say anything and then to apologize. Despicable.
I don't know. And the only reason being he had the prop. And that's the issue. Is I would agree if he didn't have the button sitting next to him. He had the prop set up. And so my guess is that it was prepped, that they had this thing. Hey, if someone does something, etc. But I would say that if she didn't say anything, I don't think he would have said her name.
Yeah.
I think the only reason he did was because of her outburst.
Of MTG.
Yeah, but I do think they had prepped that because he had the button sitting there. That button wouldn't be sitting there unless
he got it on the way in from somebody.
Well, I didn't see him sit it down though. When he gets there, he doesn't set it down. Again, I'm looking at that. That was something that the staff set up. That it's like, here's your glass of water. Here's the button in case we need it. That they had game planned that. If someone says something, etc., here's your response. Because some of those things that he said were not off the cuff. He was way too sharp. That they had game planned that when someone says something, you're going to respond this way. Yeah, that's the same thing with Trump getting in the fight with Jimmy Kimmel. Don't fight the comic.
I disagree with you on that one. I think Trump got the better of that one. Libs of TikTok.
Not even close. Not even close. Who landed the joke? Who was made
Who
fun of?
got somebody else to interrupt their own self-love event to read a tweet?
It wasn't a self-love event. Jimmy Kimmel's there for.
Gosh, the entire thing is this great.
It's not Jimmy Kimmel's self-love event.
It
isn't. Jimmy Kimmel's there because it's the
entire
Oscars.
life is a self-love event.
No, but if it was his show, sure. It's not his show. He's there as the host of the Oscars. And so again, and the thing that Trump said was about Stephanopoulos, not even about Kimmel. And so Kimmel sat there. No, he didn't get
Snuffleupagus.
He didn't get either one of them. He got he got clowned. He said something on his social media network, and Jimmy Kimmel clowned him in front of everybody.
What would you have to pay for a minute and 30 seconds? Even getting roasted by the comic himself.
Yeah.
If you were going to buy a 90-second spot on the Oscars, you'd be spending millions of dollars.
Yeah, you would. Although, let's see if it turns into subscribers. So far, it hasn't.
Oh, I think it will.
We and the fun thing is we'll see the numbers. The numbers will be there for us.
So, libs of TikTok, this is what I agree with this. Biden took weeks to say Laken Riley's name. He finally said it and said the wrong name. He then went on TV and apologized for correctly calling the killer an illegal. Meanwhile, Trump met with Laken's mother, showed her his support. It is a tale of two presidents, and I agree with that. All right. We're going to get Ryan Armagost up here in just a second. He's going to talk about this effort down at the state capitol to impeach Jenna Griswold. We'll get those details and more. But let's go to the news with Blake Olson. The Blake Olson News.
All righty. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Billy. It's 33 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 60s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story: a man is dead following an officer-involved shooting at a Lakewood hotel over the weekend. Police were called to the La Quinta Inn on West Hampton Avenue on Saturday morning for a report of shots fired. Arriving officers reportedly found an armed man at the scene, ordered him to drop the weapon. Police say he refused to listen to their commands and began approaching them, prompting them to fire their weapons at him. He was pronounced dead at the scene, and 3 officers have been put on administrative leave pending investigation. Fort Collins police
We may have some technical difficulties with the Blake Olson News here. We'll see if we get him back in a second. All right. We'll continue to check in, see if we can get the news back from Blake.
Let's do weather, and then we'll talk to Ryan.
All
That's
right.
about the best thing we can do at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what happens here. It looks like the computer's going to do this on its own. I'm curious. You and I are going to find out together if I can find out the weather this way. All right. Hold on. Here we go.
Well done, Bill.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Minority Leader Rose Puglisi and a fellow Republican legislator on Wednesday called for the chamber's Democratic Speaker to bring to the floor a resolution to impeach Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, arguing that Griswold's partisan political ideology has prevented the Democrat from carrying out her duties. This is from the Denver Gazette. In a letter delivered late Wednesday, the House Speaker Julie McCluskey by Rose Puglisi and State Rep Ryan Armagost, nearly every member of the House Republican caucus insisted that Monday's U.S. Supreme Court decision keeping Donald Trump on Colorado's presidential primary ballot underlines the urgency of their impeachment resolution, which the lawmakers say was submitted to the Speaker's office nearly a month ago. Griswold, an attorney, expressed support in recent months for a December ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court that removed Trump from the state ballot in response to a lawsuit filed by Republican and unaffiliated voters who alleged the former president was ineligible under a constitutional provision that bars certain federal officials from holding office if they have, quote, engaged in insurrection, unquote. With a 9-0 slapdown from the U.S. Supreme Court, I appreciate that Rose Puglisi and Ryan Armagost are bringing this to the floor and pressing the Speaker of the House to take this on. Joining us on the program is Rep. Ryan Armagost. He represents Colorado House District 64. Thanks for being on the program, Representative Armagost.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this impeachment procedure. What you guys are urging the Speaker of the House down at the state capitol to do. Give us some background on this.
Well, this is something that came up at the beginning of session. With everything that we've been dealing with Jenna Griswold and the way she's run her position, it's been kind of in the making. She keeps going, kind of outdoing herself every time she does something in the media. And this is the latest thing, is when she started progressing toward the idea of taking President Trump off the primary ballot. That's when we started getting more involved and more vocal as a caucus and as a party. But when this became reality, we didn't realize how much influence she had in this until it came up to the Colorado Supreme Court and her idea was coming to fruition. So that's when we obviously jumped into action, and we wrote the resolution. We had everyone in the caucus co-sign or as sponsors on that, and then it got handed up on February 8th. So we've been waiting since February 8th until now, with nothing from the Speaker to introduce the resolution and have it read. So I talked to the Minority Leader, Rose Puglisi, and we collectively decided to write a letter and involve the whole caucus in that as well, to basically push or urge the Speaker to have the resolution read. And this seems to have gotten that ball rolling simply because I think she wasn't expecting us to give her the attention she's now getting on that level. So I think it was overall a success, and hopefully we'll get this resolution read quickly now that the U.S. Supreme Court has made their decision.
So the goal is to at least read the resolution, but then what happens next?
Well, that's the thing, is obviously since we're in the super minority, I think every one of us is well aware that this isn't going to go anywhere. This is going to be more or less a message to be sent. And that's most of our legislation anyway, as you well know. It's just, we have to send the message that we're standing up for what we believe in and for the Constitution, and giving the voters what they deserve and being able to elect a candidate that they want to elect on the ballot.
The Speaker of the House, Julie McCluskey, said this resolution is an unwarranted waste of time, she said through a spokesman. a spokesperson, I'm disappointed to see House Republicans bow to the most extreme fringes of their party simply because the Secretary of State did her job. The only views of hers they object to were also shared by the Colorado Supreme Court, that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection against the United States. Donald Trump is the problem, not the secretary. But instead of dealing with MAGA extremists in their ranks, they're defending Trump and attacking opponents. I mean, come on. The Secretary of State did not play this fairly at all. She's a partisan hack. I mean, and that's what drives, I think anybody that's even moderate or liberal should have this critique about the Secretary of State, is that both the Secretary and the State and the Treasurer should essentially be referees, right? Just process business registrations and run free and fair elections. That's all you need to do as Secretary of State. You don't need to take your talking points from Planned Parenthood. You don't need to go out there and join in an effort to keep presidents of the opposite party off the ballot. You don't need to put all this energy and effort into trying to shut down Republicans and advance and elevate Democrats simply because you're part of that party. I mean, she has totally abandoned objectivity in all these cases. She's just a partisan hack.
Absolutely. I think the whole thing, that every message she sends is extremely partisan, and you're absolutely right. She gets her messaging from all of the extreme fringe organizations of the left, and that's where it becomes an issue, because she always preaches free, fair, transparent elections.
The gold standard. We got the gold standard in elections. Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's challenging every single person that questions her integrity and her ability to run things free and fairly. She keeps doing stuff like this that completely undermines what she's supposed to be doing as Secretary of State. And then when anyone questions it, you're an ultra MAGA Republican or you're a conspiracy theorist. So that's how she weaponizes it and turns it against us. We're the people that are messed up, not her and her way of doing this. It's just kind of it's disappointing, but it's also frightening that our state is actually allowing this to happen. So we're taking a stand, and however far it can go, we're at least going to make people know that we're not going to stand for it.
So the goal is that Julie McCluskey would read this. Does it go to a vote? Can it go to a vote? What help those of us that aren't lawmakers to understand the process down there?
Yes, it will go to a vote, and
that's great. Let's get them on a vote supporting Jenna Griswold.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not going to challenge their own, but they have to see that this isn't a partisan issue. It doesn't matter who the candidate is that is being threatened to be taken off a ballot. If somebody can use their power to take a candidate off the ballot based on personal feelings and accusations, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous precedent, and who's to say what candidate can be next? So.
Oh, man. I mean, what got me about all of it was the hypocrisy of these people going, we need to protect democracy by making sure you cannot vote for the candidate you want to.
Right.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's pivot a little bit. Can you give us an update on this rash? I mean, a lot of them. Anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment bills that are being introduced down at the state capitol, and how Republicans plan to fight back on this.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of the same that we had last year. And I honestly thought last year was going to be the big, they came out and announced their gun control package and gun violence package and whatever else. But I kind of thought that was going to be the overall, the big package they were bringing. And that was almost a warm up for what they're bringing this year. The extreme bills they're bringing this year are outlandish. Another variation of the assault weapons ban. It's the same Representative Elizabeth Epps. She's the co-prime on it with Tim Hernandez. So the two least credible legislators from the Democrats are running this bill. That's, if anything, the one bill I can see we have a pretty solid chance of getting killed, if not in the House, in the Senate. But there's just so many extremists on the Judiciary Committee that I sit on where we see those bills. I have a feeling it's going to get out of House committee. I don't know how it'll do on the House floor with debate, but once it gets to the Senate, I'm pretty confident that one will get killed. The safe spaces bill is pretty scary because it's going to affect a lot of people. It's basically just saying if you're a law-abiding gun owner, you can't carry in these spaces. Completely ignoring the fact that criminals do what criminals do. Criminals are going to carry guns in places they're not supposed to. They don't care about the law. That's why they break the law. So all you're doing is disarming the citizens that can protect themselves from armed criminals and armed dangerous people. So that one's unfortunate, especially for law enforcement officers. Some of the things that they have with the school resource officer bills coming up, law enforcement officers essentially would have to drive, if they're coming from work, they would have to drive home to leave their weapon or firearm at home and then go pick up their kid from school. There's a lot that makes things a lot worse than they already are and what they're bringing with these gun bills. I don't know how well we're going to be able to amend them to make them less terrible. But essentially it's just going to lead to a bunch of, every one of them is unconstitutional. It's going to lead to a bunch of constitutional lawsuits to the state and cost the taxpayers even more money just to keep fighting these things for the law-abiding citizens that want to protect themselves.
It's getting so bad in the state of Colorado on these unconstitutional bills that people are actually setting up law firms to just deal with it. I mean, it's like we're having a gold rush of unconstitutional legal challenges coming from the state of Colorado. So let's go back to Jack Phillips. That was a 10-year battle. Lori Smith, 303 Creative. That was a multi-year battle. Then you have the Trump case. And now you have all these unconstitutional gun cases where people that are writing these they know these are unconstitutional. They don't care. They want to just push them up because two reasons. One, maybe the U.S. Supreme Court will change one day, and within 5-10 years, this case will be primed and ready to go to change how our country looks at the Second Amendment. But two, even if it doesn't, you get 5 years of implementation, 5 years of just being able to keep good people from owning guns and protecting their families and their schools and their churches. Well, at least we got that. I mean, they know what they're doing at this point.
Yeah.
It's like we've become like a communist hellhole.
Absolutely. It's gotten to the point where they're obviously and blatantly holding up criminals and offenders while pushing and restricting on law-abiding gun owners. I ran the bill this year to criminalize or raise the penalty for stolen firearms. It was currently a petty theft for anything, a standard handgun that could be stolen. And that's a citation, not even probation or anything like that. I tried to raise it to a felony. That wasn't happening. I tried to compromise and say, let's at least raise it to an M2, a misdemeanor 2. And that didn't happen. So the bill failed, and it's still a petty offense. They don't want to hold criminals accountable, only law-abiding citizens that are carrying guns to protect themselves.
There you go.
It's gotten to the point where I think they're just the tactic nowadays is they're throwing as much crap as they can at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, well, the voters aren't going to hold them accountable. They do all this stuff, and we're like, that sounds great. Colorado's in a wonderful position. Let's continue to give you more and more power. Give us just a temperature on the Republican caucus. You guys are in a supermajority where the Democrats have total control. First of all, how do you get up each morning, and how's everybody feeling down there when they've got to walk into that place?
Well, I tell you, it's tough. We are this is as unified, I think, as the party's been as long as I've ever known. But the caucus here is very unified. We have a great front. We're the Mighty 19. Getting up every day is just, I think, coming and working with our team. I'm a combat veteran. It's kind of the same concept of these are people I've gone to battle with, and they're my brothers and sisters. And I think everyone having that camaraderie in here is what keeps us coming in with a fresh face every morning, knowing, well, we're back for the fight. And then we just have to continue that. I try to keep it light and keep it a little jovial here and there. I know a lot of us do, and that's necessary. But when it comes down to doing the work, we go to work.
There's a few folks that have really popped up in this legislative session, you being one of them, Rose Puglisi being one of them, Brandy Bradley, some of the fights she's had down there, Scott Bottoms, Ron Weinberg. I mean, these are moments where he had like a Churchillian speech not too long ago, fighting all the anti-Semitism taking place at the state capitol. I know it's not ideal for Republicans not to be able to have the control they seek down there, But in the midst of these challenges, you're watching some real great conservative lawmakers, statesmen rise to the top in the midst of this pressure. Follow them on Twitter, connect with them, because there's still good messaging. There's good fights happening down there. They're not just rolling over. These Republicans just aren't allowing this stuff. They will go to the well. They will fight hard. Speaker McCluskey will turn off their microphones. They will not give up. They're defending what's right and good in the state of Colorado against this progressive leftism, this atheistic Marxism that's pervading the state capitol. And I think some real good statespeople are being formed through this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be, I mean, the best, you're either going to be made the best legislature or you're going to break. So these legislators are getting to be the strongest legislators possible, or they're going to be legislators that I can't do this anymore and step out. But so far, the fight has continued. We aren't going to be silenced. We aren't going to let the voices of our constituents be silenced. We're going to continue the fight.
Talking with Ryan Armagost. He represents Colorado House District 64. He's leading the effort along with Rose Puglisi to introduce a resolution to bring articles of impeachment against Jenna Griswold for her failure to properly manage the elections in the state of Colorado, joining with activists to try to kick Donald Trump off the ballot in a purely partisan way, not being a fair referee the way that this state deserves with its Secretary of State. I'm glad you're doing this. Get them on a vote. I'd like to see Democrats, after a 9-0 smackdown from the U.S. Supreme Court, have to vote to say, yes, I want to keep Jenna Griswold as Secretary of State. That's good to have on the record, Ryan. Way to be doing that. I appreciate you being on the show today.
All right. Thank you, sir.
So continue to track Ryan Armagost and the work they're doing down there at the state capitol. Like I mentioned, it's not easy, but there's good Republicans being forged in this fire that I think can lead the state in a much better direction moving forward. Hey, if your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket, I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your home for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team today. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. Here's the question I have for you. Is this good that Republicans are trying to force an impeachment or a recall on Jenna Griswold, making her the focus of kind of partisan leadership in what should be a traditionally really nonpartisan role, and pressing that issue? Or is it just a big waste of time? 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. An army vessel is en route to the coast of Gaza, laden with materials for the construction of a temporary pier, according to the US military. As our US correspondent Jagruti Dave explains, it's part of the Biden administration's plan to use sea routes to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza.
The UN is warning the people there are facing a famine. On Sunday, US Central Command said the ship called the General Frank S. Besson had departed from Virginia for the Eastern Mediterranean on Saturday, carrying the first equipment to establish a temporary pier to deliver vital humanitarian supplies. The Pentagon said 1,000 US personnel would be involved in building the pier, which would take weeks to complete, but aid groups have criticised the plan, warning the people of Gaza can't wait that long.
A Mother's Day photo of Princess Catherine and her children has been withdrawn by the world's biggest international news agencies for allegedly being doctored. The Associated Press, Reuters, Getty and AFP issued kill notices after noticing multiple inconsistencies with the photo released by Kensington Palace. The suspect image has only inflamed rumours that Kensington Palace is not being transparent about the condition of the wife of the heir to the throne. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
Bill and I are having a conversation because we were just commenting on Sebastian Gorka's ad about dog food.
I just don't think. I don't think dogs are necessarily that culinarily educated. I mean, yeah, they eat poop and lick themselves. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think that. I think rough greens has value. Absolutely, I think it's good. But the idea is they know it's good and fresh. And no, I've seen my dog try to eat things that are dead. that is not. Yeah,
that's true. They do eat that.
Yes.
I will tell you this. We were on a science diet for years with our dog.
Yeah.
And then as she got older and she really has a hard time chewing.
Did it work better for you or for the dog?
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. You said it was we were on?
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
it was not. It's very expensive.
Yes,
and then we switched to fresh dog food, and I think it's given her another 2 years that she wouldn't have had.
Oh, nice. We have
'Cause she
recently
eats
added
soft,
the fresh.
fresh.
Yeah.
You know,
we've recently done that where we supplement. 2 of the meals are our pup. She's a little chunky, and so she's on a bit of a diet, and she's not happy about that. And so she actually gets right now. She gets 6 small meals throughout the day. And they're only like less than a quarter cup. I mean, it's like a fifth of a cup of food. It's just little tiny snacks rather than trying to gobble the entire. And so we supplement 2 of those meals with the fresh stuff. So
my question for you, though, is how much do you spend on mice? If you don't know, Bill is a big snake owner.
Yeah, I get 5 snakes at home. Soon to have more, and I'm so excited. My wife, not so much. What I do is I buy them in bulk because it makes no sense to buy them week after week or month after month. So I buy them frozen, and I buy them 6 months at a time. So I will buy 125, 150 mice.
And you have your own dedicated freezer for that?
No. That again, that is a discussion that we've had in the house. It used to be we had
like pulling the frozen pizza off the dead mice.
we had a freezer outside. That one went bad, and we didn't really need it. And so that was a compromise between me and my wonderful bride. That there is an upper shelf in the freezer. And so the mice sit there, and I have agreed to cover the mice with other stuff so that you don't see the mice when you open it up. Yes, you don't see them, but that's it. But my favorite thing is they come in a big box, and they have an option to either put the fact that it is, mice and food on the outside, or you can have a blank box. You know me, I wish they could highlight it. I wish they could give me colors and put it there.
Trumpet it as they drop it off.
The first thing I want, because it is a giant box, because they're all they have to be shipped with dry ice. And so the box looks much bigger than the amount of mice that are on the inside. And I just want that sitting on the front porch, and I want my neighbors to walk by and go, good God, what is he feeding? That's what I want. I want, how big are the snakes?
My wife just messaged me that you're like the Denver Zoo. They have all kinds of frozen rodents back behind the scenes that they feed to their animals every day.
Yeah, in fact, I fed 2 of them yesterday because one guy just shed. He'd been a little persnickety and didn't want to eat lately, so he was hungry. And I have one that just came out of Burmation, a California king snake, and she is ravenous right now. She wants to eat like every 4 days because she's trying to get ready for its mating time. We're hearing about another 2 weeks. The snake's behavior is going to change if they've hit puberty, and they're going to start looking for love. And then it's really funny for about 6 weeks.
Do they find it, or are they just by themselves?
They're by themselves. But the thing is you can see that they know one's next in the other tank. There are times that you can get the 2 of them next to tanks together, going back and forth, and I'm like, don't even tell me. No. We're not doing this one. Yeah, a couple of them. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see they get very active.
Love in the air.
It's very
Springtime.
funny. Yeah, and their behavior totally changes. They're really funny. But yeah, that's what we do. My wife is nice enough to let me keep the frozen mice, in the freezer. Which again, thanks, honey. Love you. I still do not know how she's stuck with me. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't once you know me.
To each their own.
Yep,
to each their own. Let's check in and see what Blake Olson's working on.
Wow,
Morning,
she
Blake.
is incredible. That is just disgusting. I'm sorry. I don't
She's
care
an
if they're
angel.
frozen. She is.
She
Did
is.
you take frozen mice out of the freezer?
Oh.
We got to do a GoFundMe for Billy and buy him a new
Here's the fun
for
one.
the garage.
Here's the fun one. When it's feeding days for them, I have to put them into sandwich bags, and then I place them into the regular fridge to let them thaw.
No,
yes, I do. But again, I'm nice enough to where I hide them. I pull stuff forward, and on the top shelf, I put them back behind there, and I hide them behind stuff and let them thaw, and then do that.
Man,
and there's also there's one coffee cup that nobody gets to use in the house anymore because that's my mouse defrosting cup. Yeah, nobody uses that cup anymore. Yeah.
I'm voting for your wife for wife of the year.
She puts up with so much. She puts up with so much.
Wow, that's incredible.
I'm as surprised as you are that she lets me see her naked on a regular basis. It makes no sense. There's nothing about this that makes any sense at all.
I'm bewildered every morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what's coming up at the top of the hour, you guys. Fort Collins police investigating a gang-related shooting Saturday night near Old Town. The vice president returns to Denver. What is Kamala going to talk about? We'll talk about that, and we'll tell you why the Nuggets are not going to visit the White House. After all, after the World Championship, they were scheduled. We'll tell you why they're not going to go to the White House.
Biden will remember it anyway. It's not a big deal. He has no idea. Yeah, I mean, you could bring a little league team and he'd go, "Hey, nice to meet you, Denver." He'd do just
question.
Fine. Yeah,
no question about it. All right, guys, we'll talk to you at the top of the hour.
Thanks. You, Blake. I appreciate it. So we've been having a robust conversation this morning. Everything from the Oscars and Jimmy Kimmel, Donald Trump, getting into it. We can't have Oscars without that. Ryan Armagost joined us at the top of the 7 o'clock hour to talk about an effort down at the state capitol to impeach Jenna Griswold for not really doing her job as a Secretary of State and being so partisan.
I had a caller throw in something that said, at least Jenna is agreeing to follow the rules of the Supreme Court, or the Colorado Supreme Court. At least she played that way. That is at least saying, okay, I'm going to, not trying to go rogue and say, no, I have this power and trying to take it. Although I always thought it was strange that she joined the suit. I really felt that she didn't have to, that all of this could have been accomplished by letting somebody else. That strategically, I think it was dumb to step into the fight, because now she does give the appearance of a partisan. And I feel like she's a partisan on this one, when she could have let so many other people take this fight, and then she could have been like, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see, because if the lawsuit,
I'm a referee, I'm going to let the big wigs make the decision, and I'll implement whatever.
Exactly. Regardless, in her heart that she wanted to be able to throw him off the ballot. But
and she wanted to walk into every Democrat cocktail party for the rest of her life and say,
I'm it. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, she did. But the deference would have been better here. Yeah. But oh well.
Let's go to the lines. Joan from Lakewood. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning.
Good morning. I kind of have a hangover from skipping forward.
I think we're all.
I was thinking it was like Oscar parties, that every time someone in a political speech, you're doing shots. You're like,
no.
Okay, good. Then I'm happy. Okay, good.
No. So I originally called because I wanted to say my favorite moment with the State of the Union was the hot mic moment with Biden saying he was going to have a conversation with Bibi and have a come to Jesus.
I know.
And I sat there and I went, well, that's really sensitive there.
Yeah. Why did he pick that phrase?
Why?
Of all the phrases.
I know. And so.
He's got some of those like old timey homey phrases and stuff. And he could have reached back. He talks about popcorn and the other things and corn pop. And then he has these other phrases. And that's the one he picked. I went, oh boy. Yeah.
But I did want to say that I was at caucus, so I didn't see much of it. I did get to see the end of it because they were late getting there and late getting started. And then at caucus, they actually had petitions that said they would want to recall Griswold. There's a movement out there that says, let's recall her, because it's kind of an interesting thing, because it's a little bit like impeaching her. If for some miracle they impeached her, what would happen? She'd be replaced by another.
But we think too much about this, and as conservatives, and we have text messages here. I'd rather have them work on legislation. We shouldn't be spending our time with this. It's not going to work out that right. Look. We need to fight more like the Democrats fight, which is you throw every wrench you possibly can at the operation just to create problems for them. I think that's a perfectly acceptable use of time. And so whether it's an impeachment, whether it's a recall, keep this in the news cycle. Keep focused on the fact that we have a Secretary of State who should be in a very traditionally nonpartisan general operations referee mode with regards to our elections and business registrations. That's what you do as a Secretary of State. You register businesses and their little LLCs so that they could set up their tax structures and pay, their taxes on time. That's all you should be doing. And Democrats don't think like this. They're not like, well, it's unlikely that Donald Trump's going to be found guilty of and be impeached. So we'll just, let's not do it and focus more. No, they're constantly bringing up the articles of impeachment twice while he was president. Every single legal indictment they could find anywhere in the country, they throw every wrench they possibly can at Republicans to try to disrupt their agenda. And I like to see Republicans playing the same way.
You got a good point there, Jeff, because of the idea inside of this lawsuit that Chris Murray accurately pointed out very early on with removing Donald Trump from the ballot was the idea of an insurrection. Is that had not been adjudicated. Right. And that was a red flag from Jump Street. We knew that from the very opening, that was going to be the biggest problem. The Democrats didn't care that was functional. They kept going. Now, Joan, I got a question for you. We are going to put you in the Colorado legislature. You have an opportunity to back the measure about Jenna Griswold that Representative Armagost just outlined for us. Do you support it? Or, as like the Democrats say, do you think that it is a waste of time? What do you feel about making this an issue inside the legislature?
I support it, and I signed the petition saying to recall her. I don't think that we fight hard enough, and I think Jeff is right. And on top of that, I think recalls are one of the things that the Democrats are a little afraid of. They've had legislators step down before they have the recall done. And I believe in putting people on the record. So, get a vote.
Now, with the vote, do you think that it will help or hurt? Do you think that the broader electorate, I'm just saying, let's say that for whatever reason, let's say the recall does or doesn't go ahead, we're getting into the next election cycle, will this kind of a vote help or hurt Jenna Griswold in the future and other legislators? What do you think?
I think that a lot of people are already, it's the same thing with Trump. People are like, well, we can persuade these people. And I'm like, I'm sorry. The people have already decided. And Nikki Haley was going to be a lifeboat, and she spent $120 million. $120 million, which is what exactly the Denver is thinking they're going to spend on the migrants.
Yeah.
And she ended up spending $13 million a delegate.
Yeah. Not the only person that did worse was Bloomberg for the Democrats. He spent $1 billion. I got like nothing. I mean, he's the only guy that spent worse. But again, fitting that it was a Democrat. I like where you're thinking, Joan, on that one, because I think there can be an issue of getting the legislators to stand up and say, no, I don't want to remove Jenna. I think that can be a strong mechanism. And I think that Representative Armagost has a great message of what are you afraid of? That's the core of what his message should be to the Democrats down at the legislature. Okay, this isn't going to pass, but what are you afraid of? Why are you guys all support her? You think she all made the right decision. Why are you afraid of just calling the vote? The mechanism of bringing the bill to the floor and calling the vote is fairly easy. And if they really thought it was just a waste of time, they'll waste time, all sorts of things. One of the things that I hate are those resolutions. I wish we'd never pass a resolution inside of because it's just about feel good words. It's a waste of time. You spend a lot of time doing that just so we can feel good about the words you're saying. Spend time on something that functionally can do something. And I think that's where Representative Armagost should do is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Don't tell me this is a waste of time. What are you afraid of? We waste time all over and over again. It's not like it's the most efficient body ever. So again, what are they afraid of? That's kind of where I go. Yeah.
Not bringing it up for a month is a message.
Yeah.
We're encountering a lot of people shutting down. They're shutting down public comment. They canceled the meeting in Lakewood, the city council meeting today, because things are just too hot right now. And
really? They canceled it? Good.
Yes,
That's
they
interesting.
did. And so they're working really hard at not letting our voices be said. In Weld County, they have this resolution that was brought forth and to make it a non-sanctuary city. And the county commissioners have said, we're not going to take any more public comment on this
Jeez.
topic. And I really think that there is some real movement in Colorado. And the best part was caucus. I went to caucus and there were people there who had never participated before. I talked to a man, he became a delegate. He'd been a lifelong Republican, and finally they're getting out of their chairs, they're moving forward, they're doing something.
Fighting for this state. I appreciate that, Joan. I love to hear it. Thanks so much for the call. Joan's line's going to be open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, and your energy levels. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can really be a problem. There is good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers. It takes only 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, T and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Call them today at 720-440-7900, 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill, did you see this text here?
Which one?
Dead mice in fridge.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to respond to that
No
one.
one is coming to your house for dinner
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm actually going to send them a message right now. I just sent them back, that no one in the family likes it, but I'm going to try to send them a picture of something I found online. I don't know if I can.
The defrosting coffee mug.
Yeah, it says defrost. There's a mug that a friend of mine passed along to me, and it's a mug that says, "This is my rodent defrosting mug. Do not use for coffee." I said,
Does it actually say that?
No, but the one that I have right now is actually it's a nutcracker thing. So it's got the nutcracker on it. It's things from the nutcracker. So that's the one right now. Is the nutcracker coffee mug that nobody can use. Oh, in fact, my college students this weekend, we went to ARC because need some extra dishes. The person that had the dishes in the apartment with them didn't do so well last semester, and so now they're no longer enrolled in the school.
Really?
Yeah, that was
like they're breaking dishes.
Well, it was their dishes.
It was their dishes.
Yeah, so they left with the dishes and stuff. So went to ARC and got some stuff and needed some mugs. And going through and choosing regular ones, I'm like, no, this is ARC. You have to embrace the oddities here.
Yes.
So got him to pick one. We picked up one that is those souvenir cups you get when you go visit tourist traps. This one's from Galveston, Texas. Easily made late 80s, early 90s based on the graphics around it. And it was for Alan. Now, there is no Alan that lives in the house. They don't know an Alan, but they're going to have an Alan mug just because. But my favorite one that we found, and it was only 99 cents. I can't believe this find. It said something on one side about education and working together, but the other side, it is it's the Aurora Police Department Senior Citizen Patrol. Yeah, so it has the Aurora badge and it says like Senior Citizen Aurora Police Department Patrol or something like that on it. Yeah, it is fantastic that it's a Senior Citizen Patrol mug. So yeah, they look at me like, you are so weird. I'm like, how can you not get the weird mugs if we're going to ARC just for that? Because again, dishes are $1, and if they break, who cares? So yeah, I'm not going to go spend $50.
I could absolutely see a Saturday Night Live skit of Bill standing at the window. It's early in the morning.
Yes.
There's steam rolling up out of his coffee mug, and he takes a sip, and there's a defrosting mouse.
That is a family. That's a joke around the families. I'll have them, and I'll go. They'll be defrosting or something, and the kids will walk into the kitchen like, mouse.
The best part of waking up.
I've offered. I said, can I just
Bill's mouse in your cup?
Like I can just dip this into your coffee if you want. They're like, stop it. Like, okay,
like a tea bag.
That was actually a problem with the kids growing up because my daughters originally they asked if we could have mice, gerbils, rats as pets. That was the first pet they were looking for.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not. No. And they're like, why? And I said, because I'm sorry, but I keep reptiles. Those rodents, those are not pets. That's food. That's what my pets eat. So I agreed, but they didn't like the terms of the agreement. I said the only way that I would agree is if we got two, a male and a female, and I get the babies.
And then they get to become food.
Yes, absolutely. I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't know the babies yet.
Self-sufficient.
I had that when I was a kid. We had a pair of breeding mice so I could feed my snakes. So done that before. Not that unusual.
Welcome to the life cycle on the Jeff and Bill Show. At the top of the 8 o'clock hour, Kristi Burton Brown's going to join us on this effort to kill off charter schools. Did you know that's happening at the state capitol?
I've heard. And about frozen mice.
And we'll continue the conversation because that's what the people want. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, all you Patriots. Congratulations for winning the lottery. You were born in the greatest country this world has ever seen. Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. My name's Jeff Hunt, broadcasting here in Denver, Colorado. It's 8 a.m. It's going to be a nice day today, 65 degrees. Tomorrow's going to be 65 too, but then, it gets cold. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, a little bit of snow coming in. But to give us all the news and weather, the Blake Olson News. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. 35 in Denver and cloudy, expecting highs, as Jeff said, in the mid-60s today. 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Vice President Kamala Harris returns to Colorado tomorrow to give a speech on historic investments in supporting small business. President Biden over the weekend. Yes, I did the same thing. Yes.
Gosh,
now they care about small business.
Just that cackling laugh we're going to hear as all of the businesses leave Colorado. Oh, my gosh.
Does she know we're not a border state?
I'm not certain. Well,
okay,
I wouldn't test it on her, or, test it with her. We'll see. President Biden in Georgia, and so was former President Trump, who continues to remind voters of the stats and the record of Biden versus Trump.
Crooked Joe told a total fairy tale about the economy. But the fact is, under Biden, we have a 3-year inflation rate of almost 50%. Under me, you had no inflation. Now,
once the Colorado Supreme Court announced that they wanted former President Trump off the ballot, Colorado conservatives had enough of Secretary of State Jenna Griswold and Representative Ryan Armagost helping lead the way to impeach Griswold. Armagost on with Jeff and Bill this morning. They want to send a message.
It's disappointing, but it's also frightening that our state is actually allowing this to happen. So we're taking a stand, and however far it can go, or at least going to make people know that we're not going to stand for it.
Fort Collins police investigating what they're calling a gang-related killing. Officers were called to an apartment building near Mangold Lane Saturday night on a report of a man being shot. When they arrived, they found a man suffering from at least one gunshot wound, and he was pronounced dead. A shelter-in-place alert was issued for the area after the shooting, but was lifted several hours later. Anyone who has information on the deadly shooting is asked to contact the Fort Collins Police Department. 2 stranded skiers were rescued at Ajax Mountain this past weekend. Officials say Mountain Rescue Aspen was called to an area near the Heroes Lift Saturday evening after 2 people got stuck in hazardous terrain without the proper gear or clothing. With sunset approaching, the rescue team entered the area with snowmobiles, drones, and they located and extracted both skiers. Authorities are taking the opportunity to remind skiers and snowboarders to obey boundary signs. All right, the Nuggets will not go to the White House to celebrate the World Championship. They were scheduled for March 18th, but they don't want to be distracted as they try to win the West. They take on the Raptors tonight. And that's at Ball Arena. And of course, Russell Wilson headed to Pittsburgh to play for the Steelers, and Jerry Jeudy traded to Cleveland. The Avalanche and the Flames tomorrow. And college basketball, Northern Colorado, UNC falls to Idaho State. Last night, March Madness dreams just come crashing down, because if they could have won the Big Sky Conference tournament, they would punch their ticket to the dance, but that is not going to happen. Upset by Idaho State last night. 29 in Arvada, 31 in Castle Rock, 35 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, joining us on the line is Kristi Burton Brown. She's the Executive Vice President at the Advanced Colorado Institute, and they are fighting hard down at the state capitol because there is a bill being introduced that's really going after and targeting charter schools and will harm them. I was reading this bill the other night. This is not good, fellow Americans, especially for those of us that take advantage of school choice. It's essentially going to restrict the school's ability to even operate, to appeal to the Charter School Institute if you're in a hostile district, which happens in Colorado. I mean, it's the reason why my kid's school is around, is because at the time, Douglas County was turning hostile towards charter schools. But thank God we had this opportunity to appeal to the Colorado Charter School Institute and get approved there. And my kids have been thriving at these charter schools. The Democrats wanting to force everybody back into failing government-run schools. And so they introduced this bill titled Concerning Measures to Address Charter School Accountability, when it really is an effort to take them down. So joining us to dive into the details, Executive Vice President at Advanced Colorado Institute, Kristi Burton Brown. Thank you for being on the program.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. So give the people the lowdown on this. Force your kids back into government-run schools, Bill.
Yeah. And Jeff, I think one thing you're hitting on that's so key is they love to deceive people through the bill title. When I was talking about this last week, I actually had one of the liberals who loves this bill say, "Oh, you don't like accountability for charter schools? Like, what's your problem?" I'm like, no. They're like, read the bill title. I was like, thank you for pointing out to everyone that politicians use bill titles to deceive people.
Oh, yeah. They want to be honest.
Charter school accountability. But as we all know, what they're actually trying to do is kill charter schools. And one of the bill sponsors full on admits that. She's going around the Capitol and speaking to groups outside the Capitol saying, if we pass this bill, it's the beginning of the end of charter schools here in Colorado. And that is hugely problematic for a lot of the reasons you outlined. And because 70% of Colorado voters want school choice to actually be in our Constitution, because it's a right we hold very dear here in Colorado.
All right. So what's the potential that this actually gets through? You've got Jared Polis, who owns 12 charter schools. I don't know if owns is the right word, but he at least has helped start and fund 12 charter schools. Generally, Democrats in the past have been, especially in Colorado, pretty good on this stuff, allowing school choice. And now they've become such radical leftists that they introduce pieces of baloney like this. What is the likelihood that this is going anywhere?
You know, Jeff, I think that's a great question. And I think the likelihood that something like this passes in the long term in Colorado, like say not this session, but in the next 2-3 sessions, I think is actually very high, particularly when Jared Polis gets out of office. You're right that he would consider himself a pro-school choice Democrat. You have several others in the state house and Senate who would not vote for this bill. So I think there's a chance it gets killed somewhere in the process, or that Jared Polis in the end doesn't sign it. But I think two things are still true, even if that is the case. First, every single person on the House Education Committee, you can find out who those people are easily by looking up Colorado House Education Committee online, should get a call or an email from any parent who believes in school choice, no matter where your kid goes, telling them to kill this bill. It's the charter school bill. Tell them to kill it. But also, Jared Polis should get calls from people as well to remind him that he actually is with the people on this, not with his party. But here's, I think, the danger, Jeff. If we don't protect the right to school choice in our Constitution, this bill will pass one day, very soon, especially when Jared Polis isn't governor anymore. And that's one thing Advanced Colorado we're working at. We have a ballot initiative. It's been approved by the title board. We're not collecting signatures yet, but we need to get actually our last few funders to make sure this gets on the ballot and cement this right in our Constitution so that liberals at the Capitol can't strip it away. And if you read this bill, 55 pages, spelling out exactly how they are going to end charter schools in Colorado and bleed them dry little by little until they're completely gone in our state.
These government-run schools are crap. I will tell you that right now. If your business performed as well as these government-run schools that the Democrats of Colorado want to force your children into, you would be out of business. Here's usnews.com. This isn't some conservative blog post. In Denver public schools, 32% of elementary schools students tested at or above the proficient level for reading. 32%. And 23% tested at or above that level for math. Also, 33% of middle school students tested at or above the proficient level for reading, and 20% tested at or above the level for math. 80%. 80% of middle school students in Denver public schools are not testing at their grade level for math. 46% of high school students tested at or above proficient level for reading, and 27% tested at or above that level for math. Failing. Bad managed schools. And these nitwits at the state capitol want to force your kids back into these schools. You as a parent have every right to demand the very best education for our children. You're paying for it. For God's sakes, you're paying for it. With your taxes, and your property taxes have all skyrocketed, and this is what they deliver. So what was the relief valve for allowing parents to be able to find the best school for their kids? Private education, which at a minimum in high school, you're going to pay $14,000 a year for. You want to send them to a really elite school, you're going to be near $30,000 a year. Most people can't do that. So then there was what was created were charter schools. Charter schools allow parents to be more invested in the running of the school. So it's not run by teachers' unions that are producing this type of bad numbers on proficiency. So parents can get involved. They can hire teachers that fit their values, hire teachers that hit a high level of proficiency. They can hold the administration more accountable. That's the whole point of charter schools. And here you have a bill introduced by these dopes down at the state capitol, House Bill 24-1363, whose entire intent is not to produce better schools for your kids. It's to shut down the schools that are performing well and force them back into government indoctrination camps. If you don't think that's what government-run schools are all about, then you're missing the entire scheme that's taking place here. It's about indoctrination. You can see I get a little fired up about this because I've got 4 kids right now in a charter school, and they're doing great, and I like the school. It's got its own challenges. And if this was simply about holding charter schools more accountable, I'd be all for it. But it's not. It's about shutting down charter schools and forcing your kids back into these government indoctrination camps. So, we're talking with Kristi Burton Brown, Executive Vice President at Advanced Colorado Institute. Kristi, what are you and Advanced Colorado Institute doing to try to stop this?
Yeah, Jeff, that's a great question. And what we need to stop this is the support and the help of everyone listening. Like I said, 70% of people in Colorado believe that the right to school choice should be put in our state constitution, because no matter where they send their kids, like I have friends who are very happy with their neighborhood school. I have friends whose kids go to charter school. My nieces and nephews go to a variety of schools. My husband and I homeschool our kids. That's the beauty of Colorado, is you have options, you have choice. Our current law on public schools, on private schools, homeschooling is all good. But what people forget is that charter schools are actually public schools. And what this bill is coming in and basically is treating them separate and they already don't get the same amount of funding as your average neighborhood school, which is a separate problem. But they are public schools, and the people running this bill are trying to treat them as if they are not. They are saying that districts can no longer allow charter schools to use empty district buildings. They're taking that right away from charter schools. They're demanding layers of accountability that your average neighborhood public school doesn't even have. So it's not accountability, it's trying to shut it down, as you've outlined. And so if people get fired up about this and realize that no matter where you send your child, parents across Colorado deserve the right to put their kid in the best school for them, we need people to call every single Democrat on the House Education Committee. I do know every Republican on that committee is already with us. So we need to make sure it's a bipartisan issue, reach out to anyone we're unsure about right now. And then what we also need people to do is help us get the right to school choice in the Constitution here in Colorado. That's what Advance Colorado is fighting for. We believe your right to choose the best educational options for your kid should be preserved, shouldn't be based on which party controls Colorado. We should get back to the bipartisan standard of trusting parents to pick what's best for their kids and leaving all options open when it comes to education.
Now, Kristi Burton Brown, the Executive Vice President, Advance Colorado, joining us talking about attempts to slow down and constrain charter schools here in Colorado. Got a question for you. On the other side of the aisle, the ones that are running this bill, how many of them, just would you guess, have made it at least through high school civics and economics classes? How many of them?
I mean, I think they all have.
Okay, so
I don't know what kind of class it was.
So the question I have, and maybe this will help, maybe a conversation you can ask them about is if we travel back to those at least just high school economics and civics class, especially economics one, maybe we can talk about how inside of a functional market you get innovation and you get people achieving at a higher level. If we're worried about the schools and the students achieving at a higher level, I'm curious why they don't think competition is the mechanism to use that somehow having a central planner is the way that we are going to find innovation and ways to reach kids. Because the one thing the educators will tell you is you can't teach each kid the same. So the real question I've got is what they do in the economics class. Did they miss that day or something when you were talking about competition in school? Did they not understand that these charter schools, even though they are functionally public schools, force the public schools to get better, and they allow specialization for students that don't do as well in the traditional setting in public schools? This is what parents have been asking for. But oh well, they're not listening.
Well, and Billy, I think you've really hit on something. And I think the three Democrats who are the sponsors of this bill, they're all from Jeffco, where the public schools are in the middle of a number of scandals in Jeffco. They're failing. They're having to close schools. And I don't think they're into innovation, these three sponsors of the bill and anyone who would support it. I think they are into forcing every kid into the same box. One way we can see this is because in the 55-page bill, one of the key elements that it says is if a public school district is seeing declining enrollment in the neighborhood public schools, it can use that as a reason now to shut down a charter school.
Ooh.
Not that the charter school is having declining enrollment, but if more families are sending their kids to charter schools, to private schools, or homeschooling them, and keep in mind, in Colorado, homeschooling has grown about 8% over the last couple of years. It's actually the biggest growing form of schooling in Colorado right now. So if for any reason the neighborhood public school is seeing a decline in enrollment, like let's just say people are moving away or not having as many kids, like literally any reason under the sun, they can use that as a reason to close the charter schools and not renew the contract for a very successful charter school. Giant problem. They don't care about innovation. All they care about in this bill is shutting down charter schools, even if they are the best school in the district for kids.
Oh my God, that's just the entire time you're talking about that, in my mind, I'm thinking, what if you would give, and I'm just thinking of large sort of corporate entities, things like Starbucks, McDonald's, Walmart, Target, the ability to shut down competition that is drawing away customers. That is a power they want. Right. And we have the legislators giving the public school the power. And the reason that this makes me so mad hearing about it, especially that piece, is that rather than these schools coming in going, wow, these charter schools are successful. What are they doing? How are they reaching their students?
100%.
Well, inside this neighborhood, what is the message? What is attracting these kids? How do we replicate that? What do we do in this school to offer much of the same things rather than trying to compete? They just want to say, yeah, sorry, you can't make your burgers. You can't open your store here anymore. You can't have your coffee shop in the same neighborhood as ours because you're taking our customers. That just, I'm sorry. Me as a person that loves capitalism, and I'm a big supporter of the public school system. I think it's necessary, but this shows almost perfectly why it continues to be at some areas a failing system, because they need to lean into the competition. They need to get better rather than make a mechanism for them to constrain competition, which then again, I want to see what they're teaching in high school.
The city of Denver spends $1.6 billion on education.
Dang.
$1.6 billion. It's $13,000 per student. And you have a mathematics proficiency rate around 20% for middle schoolers. And only a third of middle schoolers can read at their proficient levels.
Oh, again, for me, part of it is there's no consequence. That I
right,
think that
there is no consequence.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Yeah, as a society, we have decided to move them through the system, rather than to have them achieve inside the system. And then we're surprised that we don't have the achievement levels because we don't ask them to achieve. We just ask them to be in class, not disrupt, and then we'll move them on. We're not asking for the achievement.
And look, I'm not putting all of this on schools. If you have a kid,
agreed.
If you have a kid that comes home and is missing the proficiency numbers, I don't call the school and go yell at the teachers. You got to take that upon yourself as well and go, every kid at some point is going to get a bad grade. And every parent sits down with that kid, or every parent should sit down with that kid and go, what do we need to cut out? Maybe it's the phones, maybe it's the YouTube, maybe it's the television. You need to get focused on getting your math grade better.
The thing that worries me, and maybe Kristi can speak to this too, is I don't think all the parents are doing that, because my experience with people that I know in the public schools are, it's almost universal. They say, some of your kids are monsters. Absolute monsters that are showing up. They don't have the social skills. They don't have the reinforcement of behavior at home. My mom, who longtime educator, tells the story of a parent sitting in her office. Kid has been multiple disruptions. They're on the verge of a massive suspension. And mom looks at her and says, well, you got him for like 6 hours a day. Why can't you fix him?
Wow.
That was what she looked at. She looked at, it's your job to fix this.
No, we put
mine.
too much of that on the teachers.
Yeah.
Put way too much of that on the teachers. Kristi Burton Brown, Executive Vice President at Advanced Colorado Institute. Thanks so much for being on our program.
Appreciate it.
I recommend you go to advancedcolorado.org, advancedcolorado.org. You can sign up for their newsletter down there at the bottom right-hand corner. Get involved with what they're doing. I really believe that Michael Fields, Kristi Burton Brown are some of the smartest people in public policy in the state of Colorado. They're not only counteracting what the left is doing at the state capitol, they're playing offense. They're introducing ballot initiatives to go and protect these rights. And so you can get on their team by joining advancedcolorado.com. I appreciate you, Kristi. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bill.
All right. Well, that got me fired up.
Yeah,
I mean, these are, look, this is, and you got some text messages here going that I'm too fired up about this, but this is something I will die a hill on.
Yeah.
Or I will die on the hill, because our kids went to government run schools and I watched them basically get handed iPads. And then we went to a classical charter school where there is no technology. But they're learning the classics, and it's been very challenging for them, especially that first year. They were pressed to such another level in their academics, and it's very difficult. I'm not going to push past this. We've had challenging semesters, but they're pressed at such a higher academic level that I will die on this hill. I'm not putting them back in a government-run schooled program. All right. We'll get to your calls and texts. Frank, you're up next. Sean, we'll get to you. We do have an open line, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Jeff Hunt here for my friends at the law offices of Dan Caplis. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in motor vehicle crash cases. Dan and his partner, Babar Waheed, won the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. The firm's history of 7- and 8-figure settlements and verdicts speaks for itself. They are a firm where good people from all walks of life, without regard to ability to pay, receive the level of legal representation that the rich and powerful enjoy. Dan Caplis Law believes that talk is cheap, experience counts, results matter. The firm would be happy to share with you its track record of outstanding jury verdicts and out-of-court settlements. Dan Caplis Law believes that who you hire says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. They suggested you choose a law firm that shares your values. The firm believes that its core values have been the foundations of its historic success: faith, integrity, hard work, and a dedication to righteous causes. If you need Dan's help, give them a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. Dan would be the first one I call. I would want him by my side if I needed help. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. A 25-year-old man from Missouri faces manslaughter charges for killing his mother when she entered via their home's back door. Jalen Johnson says he thought the person was an intruder. Missouri is a state with a stand-your-ground law, allowing people to open fire if they believe there's an imminent risk of attack. Johnson's attorney says he only had the firearm for protection, having previously been robbed at gunpoint. Gun makers are trying to figure out what will make Americans start chewing again. In New York, Haley Bianco has more.
Generational habits, health concerns, and the coronavirus pandemic have gnawed away at gum sales in the U.S. So much so that some manufacturers are leaving the country's market altogether. But Mars, which owns the 133-year-old Wrigley brand, is trying to reposition gum as a stress reliever and as a concentration aid, as well as a breath freshener. A Mars executive says the aha moment came from a nurse in a hospital COVID-19 ward who chewed gum behind a mask to calm herself. Market research firm Circana says U.S. chewing gum sales rose less than 1% last year to 1.2 billion packages, which was still 32% fewer than in 2018.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, 8:30 on this Monday morning. It's going to be a really nice day today. 65 degrees, 65 tomorrow. Getting a little windier tomorrow, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, showers are developing. Heavy snow on Thursday. It's going to be one of those branch breakers that happens to us in March here, and then we climb out of it in the weekend. But enjoy the nice weather while you can. Let's check in with Blake. Blake, what news are you working on?
Well, guess who's coming to town tomorrow? Your favorite Vice President Kamala Harris. She'll talk about small business and everything that the Democrats do for small businesses in places like Colorado. So we'll
help
talk
them
about
pack,
that. Yes,
help them board up, provide
yeah,
boxes,
exactly.
all that good stuff.
The best place to find Samsonite and those type of things. U-Haul. Absolutely. There were some shootings over the weekend, and crime continues to rise. We'll talk about that and more on the Broncos. So we'll talk to you at the top of the hour for all the news and more.
There you go. I appreciate that. I want to get to the calls here in just a second, but did you, Bill, see this about the firefighters in New York City booing Letitia James? Listen to this.
Yeah.
She was speaking at a promotional event for firefighters in New York City. Okay. So this is where firefighters are being promoted. They're going up on stage. They're getting advanced in their careers. And Letitia James, the Attorney General for New York, is speaking. Listen to how the firefighters respond to her.
Today we are making history, swearing in our first African-American woman chaplain of FDA.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
They're not typically a crowd that's engaging in political activity, pressing back like that. So now they're in trouble. The leadership of the fire department is asking them to come forward, or they're going to do an investigation as to who was chanting Trump during that. This was one of the talking points memo that was sent around. The behavior we saw and heard was grossly inappropriate. Protesting, heckling, or booing at anyone at a ceremony is incredibly unacceptable. This was a promotion ceremony to honor members who made sacrifices and worked hard to achieve that day. They had close family and friends there to celebrate them. Absolutely no one should have been subjected to what happened based on the political beliefs of some members. Bill, your thoughts on whether or not, well, I guess I'm interested in the bigger picture here. When you have firefighters willing to be that bold in a ceremony like that, are the tides really turning against Biden here?
No.
Or you just
really.
think they were acting a little rowdy?
Well, here's the thing is, one, we've been talking about schools and charter schools, etc. That behavior wouldn't be tolerated. And that behavior, I understand the FDNY saying it was discussing behavior because in that setting, yeah, it is. It's totally out of the purview of what is expected on that particular day in that ceremony. Now, if she was there to give a political speech, or she was there, it was a campaign speech, and they were brought in to be the stand-ins or whatever the heck else it is, or if she came in to do a political campaign, or, hey, look, I'm doing all fine, then fine, chance all you want. But this was a promotional event. It is not that time to do it, but this is where we are. This is where we are in our society. We have decided that it is okay to chant at things like this. We've decided it's okay to yell at the president during the State of the Union. And we've decided that it's okay for Jimmy Kimmel to respond to President Trump during the Oscars. This is where we are going. And so this is going to be more and more usual. And here's the difficulty is, tell me now, all of you parents of graduating seniors, tell me how you explain to your children that they can't act out, chant, do things during the graduation ceremony at the end of the year. Why should they have to sign an agreement at all that they have to behave? because here we have firefighters, grown-ass adults, in a ceremony for a promotion, chanting at someone they don't like. Tell me again how, as a parent of a graduating senior, you're going to walk back to your kid and say, no, you can't do it. Because the adults are. The adults say it's fine. The adults encourage it and think it's a good thing. So as a parent, what do you do?
We're getting a lot of text messages on this one. Completely inappropriate in that setting. All those firefighters should quit. Letitia James tried to say we're a church. She's never read Proverbs 19, verse 9 about what happens to false witnesses. Johnny J. in Denver. I think it's indicative. I understand the kind of decorum argument. I think it's indicative that things are really changing on the ground with regards to Trump and Biden. If firefighters are that bold and wanting to push back that aggressively, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing is, are any of those firefighters, were they Biden supporters before? Did they in the last election?
I mean, that's one thing, but to be that loud, that vocal, wanting to push back, I think I think there's going to be a pretty strong Trump wave.
I'm just saying, here's the thing is, the people that support Trump can be as loud as they want. Until they get more people, they don't win. And that's the issue. Is I'm not convinced that's an indication of more people. That's an indication of brashness and boldness. I don't see anything in that conversation there, in that outburst, that shows any of those firefighters who are pro-Biden and are now pro-Trump. That to me would be a sea change. This, we just have people that support Trump being loud. Okay.
What one text message thinks they were shouting Trump because they were in support of Letitia James. I don't think they
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
All right, let's go to Frank in Golden. Frank, thanks so much for being patient. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, you guys. Hey, that type of acting out is reflective of just poor upbringing and immaturity, and it's inappropriate on either side of the aisle. It's just bad form. Grow up. But and I don't think it's indicative of necessarily a sea change. I think it's just, they see other people acting out, so they figure they can act out. That's what it is.
That's a fair point.
Monkey see, monkey do. I am a very much opponent to anybody who wants to do these impeachments and recall elections, because they're generally just time wasting and it's political theater, and people are advocating these things in lieu of actual elections. If you don't like the person, get them voted out. But I would make an exception with the Jenna Griswold problem, because she is so overtly bad. I mean, she has never not been. I mean, she's from the day one, she's been a political hack, and she's been just horrible. And I think that this is a job where the one job description you have is to be basically fair and like a referee, like Jeff was saying, and she hasn't been able to do that. So she really, really has never lived up to the one job description she should have.
Now, Frank,
and I think it's just awful.
I agree with you. Now, besides getting involved in this particular lawsuit, what other things do you feel, for you said, that she's messed up or she's made political inside of that office? I just want to see the things
I think that,
as a voter,
like
what you're acting to.
And, like the abortion stuff that she's overtly advocated and used public funding to try to advocate. She's just every single position that she's taken, it's all politics. She's using that office as a stepping stone to run for governor.
Yeah,
what it is. And I don't see where that office should be like a space holder type position. It never should be that way. We've never had a Secretary of State like that. And I guess half her hates her. I mean, give her the finger behind the back. I think she's not a good manager.
Right, big turnover in her office. You guys remember when Walker Stapleton did the commercials about the finding your property or whatever? He was the treasurer, and he put himself in Mile High Stadium, and even everybody saw that. It was right up to the election season. He was using government funds to promote himself. Everybody saw through that. Yeah. And I think they see through this with Jenna Griswold too.
Let's vote her out. I mean, I look, I get the impeachment thing or whatever, but it isn't going to work. It isn't going to be successful. It's all kind of a waste of time. But in her case, she deserves the spotlight and the waste of time because she's that bad.
Now, Frank, I'm going to do it now. This is not my opinion, but I'm just going to give air to this opinion and just see how you would react to it. What about the opinion on the left that we are just angry about a strong woman in an office that is taking positions, that we are more offended not based on her being political, but the fact that she is a strong woman? And I'm only giving voice to that because I've heard that criticism elsewhere, and I just want to get your reaction to it. Not my opinion, but I just want to have you react to it. What do you say to that?
Oh, I think that's such a misdirect. It really is. And it gives cover where she doesn't deserve it. I don't feel that way. I'd feel the same way if this was a male. I don't care. If you're going to be a partisan hack in that office, don't run for that office, period. I mean, it's like, Jeff is saying, like, you're about putting on fair elections and basically, it's a more of a regulatory type position. It isn't supposed to be a political office. It just happens to be one that you have to be voted in.
Yep.
And I hate it when people give cover, on those bases, like, oh, you just don't like strong women or whatever. No, it's a good point, man. That's completely beside the point. Completely misdirect.
I appreciate
Frank,
that.
Appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Frank from Golden. His line's going to be open 303-696-1971.
Love the fact that he went back to the politics and didn't do personal. Said, no, this is my criticism. And I appreciate that tremendously from you, Frank.
Sean, we're going to get to you in just a second. We all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented, non-prescription, natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to Natural Grocers, grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial with no strings attached. Wondering about the research? We'll get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Text messages here on the firefighters. It all comes down to respect. We have become a country with no respect for anything or anyone. Lori from Greeley. Jeff, loud Trumpsters don't mean anything as far as the reelection. Look at how loud the Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders people were and how far that got them. I don't know. I think people are getting pretty bold
Bernie
in
Sanders
this fight.
Fans were loud. They were very loud. They're like vegans. They just come up and they tell you. You don't have to guess if someone's a vegan because they'll come up and tell you.
Some people saying that it was a bad idea to even put Letitia James up there at all. Who made that decision? All right, Sean, we'll get to you in just a second. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, let's get to the calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Sean from Lakewood, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Sean.
Morning.
Well, thank you, Jeff and Bill. I think probably the key thing that's different between an impeachment and a recall is that in an impeachment, the sitting party gets to replace them. In a recall, you at the same time put somebody else in place. And if you recall, when we had the gun issues come up, a couple of people got recalled and replaced, and then the party decided to take the remaining person out of office so they could continue to control the street. If there's a recall against Jenna Griswold, she gets replaced not by our good governor, but by who's ever elected in her place. The key thing, and the odds of the impeachment going any place are nil because they've got a supermajority in the House. However, the time that's spent, to the extent there's any time that's allocated, would be very useful in educating exactly all of the illegal things that Jenna Griswold's done. The Denver Post is not going to report on it. We don't have any newspaper or media coverage. It's just a way to get the word out and to educate people on how she has completely corrupted our whole electoral process.
Right. It puts pressure. It keeps it in front of the news cycle, even when the other major outlets want to try to bury it. I like it. I'm glad that the Republicans in Colorado are doing this. I think they should. I think they need to get a lot scrappier in how they fight back from the state, and they point out all of the corruption that takes place on the left. And so, I'm for both of them.
The other challenge is the legislature's made it virtually impossible to effectively initiate any recalls. They've done that to protect themselves from the reaction of the people. I listened to the firefighters, and what I heard, and I see it here in Colorado, people are getting very frustrated at the refusal of their elected officials to listen to them. The whole immigration situation, the sanctuary city process, it's destroying us from the inside, and the cancer in Denver is spreading to Lakewood. It's spreading to all the surrounding areas. People are frustrated.
Right.
They have a difficult time trying to elect anyone because all of the outside money, the source money that comes in that funds the DAs and the Soros sheriffs, we don't have a comparable funding source to counter that outside influence.
What about the Kochs?
The only way we have anything that we can do is through the recall process.
But wouldn't the Kochs counter the Soros money, technically?
They haven't.
No, but that's the funding source. I mean, if we're talking about it, the funding source is there, and there's several more as well. I mean, Adelson's money, Sheldon
I would
Adelson's
hope that
money,
Anschutz
that as
at
well.
some point would look at it. I would hope there would be other sources. But the reality is we're not doing what's necessary. We're not going out and getting Republicans registered. We're not creating an environment. If I was an outside person trying to fund anything here in Colorado, I'd look at it and say, why would I even bother? How effective is my money going to be?
Sean, to your point about the growing frustration, I mean, we heard from Joan from Lakewood today that Lakewood City Council's canceled their own meeting tonight because of all the pushback that's taking place by the general public right now. That is where I think that you do see a sea change happening, where one of the things that was brought up was, should these firefighters quit? Should they be punished? Do you think they should be punished? What do you think, Sean?
I agree that it was inappropriate, but I wouldn't punish them. And I don't think New York can afford to punish them because they need those people working.
Right.
And they're having problems filling those positions. They fire them. All they're going to do is have more fires, more chaos. And that's what Soros is looking for. I think that's what the Progressive Democratic Party is trying to do. They're trying to create so much chaos that they can, replace our constitutional republic with the form of tyranny that we see happening in these urban areas.
Right. Yeah, but Sean, I mean, if they were trying to, aren't they doing a bad job of it? Because I mean, if you and I and Jeff got together and decided that we were gonna, if we had the power to go ahead and sow chaos, we could do a better job. I have a hard time getting to that conclusion that there's some sort of nefarious plot that is trying to tear down the American system based on billionaire money. I don't see it. And if it is, they're doing a bad job at it, honestly.
I don't think so. I think they're doing a fine job.
Soros has been banned in at least 4 countries because of his disruption of their internal systems. We have in Jefferson County, we have a DA that's not prosecuting property crimes. People have stopped reporting property crimes because the police don't do anything or can't do anything. We have
San Francisco's only going
you can-
to take calls for property crimes during working hours.
Yeah,
They're not going to do that.
You can elect a different DA. That's the thing. The whole idea that, oh my gosh, this nefarious thing is you still get to vote people. I just really,
which they have done in some of
Yeah.
those cities. All right, we'll continue the conversation. I want to get into this. Did Liz Cheney hide some important evidence from the January 6th commission? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Nine o'clock in the Mile High City. Congratulations. You're up and at 'em. You're a producer. You're making things happen in the state, and we appreciate it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. We have covered a lot today. Everything from the Jimmy Kimmel, Donald Trump throwdown that took place over the Oscars yesterday to Ryan Armagost joining us in the 7 o'clock hour to talk about his effort to impeach Jenna Griswold. Get out of here. He's trying to get her done and out down at the state capitol. And then Kristi Burton Brown joining us at the 8 o'clock hour to talk about this effort to shut down charter schools in the state of Colorado. Can you believe that?
Yeah, because the one thing that's going to help is lack of competition.
Right.
That's what we've seen over and over again. If you just say there's only one option, you always get the best. That's proven, right?
Well, and in the 9 o'clock hour, I want to get into this article from the Federalist. Liz Cheney, January 6th committee suppressed exonerating evidence of Trump's push for National Guard on that day. It's by Molly and Hemingway. We'll get into that.
That headline is so
article.
Loaded. It is so loaded.
It is.
It is all the words in there. It's such a loaded headline. But
It
again,
is.
She didn't write it, so I get it.
It's a loaded article.
Yeah.
It's a long article, and it gets into Mark Meadows. It gets into Donald Trump. It gets into Secret Service and whether or not everything is being fully shared that the January 6th committee knew. Not going to want to miss this conversation. Whew, it's going to be a spicy one, I bet, between Bill and I. But let's check in on the news with Blake Olson News.
All righty, Jeff. Appreciate it. And Billy, 40 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-60s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Vice President Kamala Harris is coming to Denver tomorrow to give a speech on small business. And speaking of Harris, former Israeli ambassador Dr. Michael Oren didn't like that Harris said that the Biden administration distinguishes between the people of Israel and the Israeli government. And I'm having problems with all the sound this morning. So we'll move on here. President Biden told Colorado Senator Michael Bennet after the State of the Union, don't tell anyone, but I told Bibi we need to have a come to Jesus meeting on that, after Bennet told the president that we need to give more aid to Gaza. Of course, he was referring to Bibi and Netanyahu. And Kristi Burton Brown, the Advanced Colorado Institute, knows that Democrats have a lot, are attacking school choice and charter schools in Colorado, despite Governor Polis being a supporter of charter schools in the past. But conservatives looking down the road to prepare for what we may see in our state. And as Jeff mentioned, once again, Colorado Supreme Court, after they announced that they wanted former President Trump off the ballot, Colorado conservatives had enough of Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, Representative Ryan Armagost, working and helping to lead the way to impeach Griswold. Armagost on with Jeff and Bill this morning. They're trying to send a message. And I'm not going to have that one either. So we'll work on that hopefully for tomorrow. A man is dead following an officer-involved shooting at a Lakewood hotel over the weekend. Police were called to the La Quinta Inn on West Hampden on Saturday morning for a report of shots fired. Arriving officers reportedly found an armed man at the scene, ordered him to drop the weapon. Police say he refused to listen to their commands and began approaching them, prompting them to fire their weapons at him. He was pronounced dead at the scene, and the three officers have been put on administrative leave pending an investigation. All right, Russell Wilson is headed to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Broncos still owe him $38 million. And the Nuggets say they're not going to go to the White House after all. They were scheduled for March 18th, but they don't want to be distracted as they try to win the West. They play host to the Raptors tonight, the Avalanche and the Flames tomorrow. And college basketball, Northern Colorado falls to Idaho State. Steve Smiley, the head coach of UNC, and his team, they had a great season. And you have to win the Big Sky Conference tournament in order to get to the big dance or March Madness. And they lose in a shocker last night to Idaho State. It's 35 in Louisville, 37 in Lakewood, and 40 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be joining us tomorrow, and she's going to be touting.
She's on the show? Really?
Well, not joining us, joining Colorado.
Oh,
I'm
now
sorry.
I'm sad. Now I'm just a little.
That was a mistake. I would have loved to join us. She
that would've been-
joined
I
us
was like,
here
wow.
in Colorado.
Has she listened? Like,
And
how did I get this one?
She's going to be highlighting the administration's, quote, historic investments in supporting small businesses, advancing economic opportunity, and building a strong economy for all Americans. I would like to get some calls on this.
Yeah, that's just
because I'd like to know who is running a small business in Colorado and has seen historic investments supporting their small businesses and has felt like the Biden administration is advancing economic opportunity and building a strong economy for all Americans. If you believe that, I'd like to hear from you, because I saw this article in the Denver Gazette over the weekend. Colorado population boom easing off. Colorado in recent decades has been a population boom state, but a new study by the Colorado Demographer's Office indicates this may be changing, even as part of El Paso County and the greater Denver continue to grow rapidly. From 2010 to 2020, Colorado was adding nearly 75,000 new residents a year. From July 2021 to July 2022, the annual population of increase in Colorado was only 27,000. It was population growth, but not at all like the previous decade. Still, Colorado compared well to the rest of the nation, but things are tapering off. Do you feel that in the state of Colorado? I feel like we're in an economic slump. I really do. And I feel like most of the people I know in my life are working weekend jobs just to try to maintain the same standard of living. So Kamala Harris not joining the show tomorrow. We invite her on the show, but she will be with us Coloradans trying to tout all the economic success that the state is facing. I don't know. I think the stats are in the other direction. I don't think people are moving here as much. It kind of feels like we're in a lull. Things aren't doing great. Let's go to Jane, line 1. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning. I just wanted to add on to the school funding.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, the schools would, every year they would print their budgets in the newspapers. They don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
They also used to put in how well the kids were doing in school as far as the academics were concerned. They don't do that anymore.
No.
Well, if you looked at the budget then, and I expect it's still the same, you said 1.6 billion.
That's correct.
All right, now subtract 80% out of there. What have you got left?
20%. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So the budgets in the schools are 80% of the budget goes to salaries. Well, they don't pay the kids, so I'm assuming that's what they're spending. 80% of schools' budgets then, and I suppose it hasn't changed much.
Yeah,
went
and
to
I mean,
salaries.
it's about $13,000 a student, which is what most people would be paying for a good, decent private school as well. That's going into these public schools. I'm just amazed at the lack of success. And what the Democrats down at the state capitol are doing is, well, we're going to go after the schools that are actually performing pretty well. I mean, if you look at the school rankings, typically charter schools are some of the highest ranked schools in the state. And so that's the problem we're going to go after. Oh my gosh, you could get me all worked up on it.
Well, when charter schools were set up, they were set up in the auspices of the public school system. They had
they are technically public schools.
Yeah, they were technically public schools. So those people in those charter schools have been cheating. They're doing too dang well, and they can't handle it anymore. So they're just going to get rid of them.
Unbelievable. Jane, thanks so much for the call. I appreciate it. 303-696-1971. Jane's line's going to be open. We were talking about the fact that there's a bill introduced down at the state capitol in a previous hour with Kristi Burton Brown that's going to go after charter schools. It'll essentially be the beginning of the end of them in this state. And for a state where that was one of the bright spots. The fact they're doing this just shows you how out of touch Democrats are at the state capitol going after that issue.
Yeah.
That issue.
And the thing for me that Kristi outlined, the part that is so duplicitous in my mind, is contained inside the bill is the ability of the local neighborhood public school to force the shutdown of a charter school if their enrollment drops. And I look at that just going, and I'm sorry, be better. That's the idea, is if enough of your students are leaving that school, forcing them to come back doesn't solve the problem. This is a moment for introspection about what is the community, what are we not delivering, and why are we not meeting the needs of the community. If you want to pull students from that charter school, why don't you go look at what they're doing and offer that at your school? Offer a specialized program at your school and create it, because there might be some parents at that charter school that would appreciate the busing, the lunches, some of the other things that are involved in the neighborhood school. So if you can offer an alternative to those parents, especially on the transportation end, to take that off their plate, but offer them a similar program in the neighborhood school, now you're competing. You don't get better by taking your competition and telling them they don't get to play in the game anymore.
And I'm part of a group of parents. I recognize I'm not a big sample, but I think that there's a lot of parents who don't want to deal with the woke baloney in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools anymore, in public run schools, where there seems to be an indoctrination into leftism. And if they took away charter schools, these parents would homeschool. They're not going back into public schools.
Here's the thing about, I understand the idea of, I understand the perception of the idea of this woke indoctrination, et cetera, of the schools. But the core reason that we have those socialization and behavior classes and things, because I'll come back to a point that I had earlier in the show. Some of your kids are monsters. Some of your kids show up and don't understand that if Jimmy over there in the next desk, if he has the pen that I like, I can't go over there, push him out of his chair and then take his pen. I can't do that. And so some of your kids show up not having basic social skills or the abilities. And this is a hard part for me, because we always hear, well, the parents know the best for the kids. No, I know a lot of parents that make awful choices for their children, horrible choices. So the default that the parents always know best, I disagree with. Do I think the default the school knows best? No, not at all. No. I think it has to be taken on an individual basis, and any of those generalizations are awful. But some of your kids are freaks and monsters, and we have to deal with that. And so that's the problem. If more of them would show up to the public school door, understanding how to behave in class, understanding how to interact with not only a teacher, but their social peers, we wouldn't have those classes. Those classes only appeared after the behavior appeared. It wasn't a precursor. The behavior appeared, and the only reason those classes exist are because of your monsters. You want those classes out of the schools? Teach your kids better.
So I want to pivot a little bit here to this article that came out over the weekend. January 6th committee allegedly suppressed testimony showing Trump administration push for National Guard presence. This was in Fox, but it was led in the Federalist by Molly Hemingway. The January 6th Congressional Committee allegedly falsely claimed it did not have evidence that showed former President Trump's administration requested National Guard assistance, according to a report detailing a, quote, hidden transcript that was recently released. The former January 6th Select Committee apparently withheld Mr. Ornato's critical witness testimony from the American people because it contradicted their predetermined narrative. Mr. Ornato's testimony proves that Mr. Meadows has said all along President Trump did, in fact, offer 10,000 National Guard troops to secure the U.S. Capitol, which was turned down. Georgia Republican representative said in a statement on Friday. They released a transcript from a former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Anthony Ornato's interview with the Congressional Committee investigating January 6th on Friday, following the Federalist Molly Hemingway, also a Fox News contributor, reporting former Representative Liz Cheney's January 6th committee suppressed evidence that the Trump administration pushed for 10,000 National Guard members to be on the streets. It was rejected. That effort and that offer was rejected by Mayor Bowser, who was the District of Columbia mayor. They called, it was rejected, and then that testimony was hidden from the January 6th committee. What are your thoughts on that, Bill?
Yeah. This is a wonderful bit of gaslighting by conservative media on this one, because they are reinventing history. It's yeoman's work. It is yeoman's work. Yeah, it is yeoman's work on it, and I appreciate it, and I see what they're trying to do. But it is a complete reinvention of the narrative of history. And I've been in this, stolen election thing in January 6th for years, neck deep in it. And I remember this narrative and how it's gone, because remember, originally it was that Trump asked for 20,000 troops, and he requested them. He said, and it was the nasty deep state and Nancy Pelosi that didn't give him his 10,000 troops. The 20,000. It was 20,000 over and over again, 20,000. And then it became 10,000. And then it became 10,000, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let him have the 10,000 troops. And now we have the narrative inside of Molly Hemingway's writing there, talking about Trump pushing for the National Guard, and he requested it. And he did no such thing. He offered 10,000 troops in a meeting to the mayor of D.C.
Right.
The mayor of D.C. said, I have 350 to 500 that are already doing traffic, etc. And he said, okay, that's it. There was no push. There was an offer for this. And that memo
that's
has been
semantics.
No, it isn't. And that offer has been out, and that paper and that memo has been out for 2.5 years minimum.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing new. This is not a new thing. And I understand the idea of it being semantics per se. However, that would be problems if Donald Trump just a couple of weeks ago didn't do
Nikki
this.
Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything?
No, that's not true. But
destroyed
again,
all of it.
but listen,
all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
Yeah, that's not true. He didn't offer anything to Nikki Haley or to Nancy Pelosi. The narrative
he
that
offered
saying,
a quick reaction force to
no, he
Nancy
didn't.
Pelosi.
No, he didn't.
That's what this testimony
No,
says.
No, that is not what the testimony says. The testimony says they offered 10,000 troops to the D.C. mayor, Bowser. That's what the testimony says. Didn't offer Nancy Pelosi quick reaction troops for nothing. That's not the conversation. The conversation, the offer is to the D.C. mayor, Bowser. And that's been out for years. And the issue is, she's like, I have them controlling traffic and other things. Yeah. That's the issue, and the reason why it can't be Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't have the authority to control the National Guard. That is not a purview of her office. Even if Trump said, here's 20,000 National Guard, Nancy Pelosi cannot command them to do a single thing. She can't tell them to tie their shoes. So that doesn't matter. So this is why it's gaslighting. What's happening here is that the conservative media is trying to remake the narrative that Trump has been saying, and Kash Patel's been floating this crap as well, about 20,000 troops being offered to Nancy Pelosi, and that's the reason things went crazy. And then it was 10,000 troops.
You've changed this article, though. So the article is about the fact that Cheney and her committee falsely claimed there were no evidence to support Trump officials' claims the White House had asked for 10,000 National Guard troops. There is evidence.
No,
there's testimony from the White House Deputy Chief of Staff.
Read that sentence again.
Cheney and her committee falsely claimed they had, quote, no evidence, unquote, to support Trump officials' claims the White House had asked for 10,000 National Guard troops.
Yep, and that is an incorrect statement, because the White House never asked for 10,000 National Guard troops. The White House had a conversation with the D.C. mayor saying, do you need more troops? You can have up to 10,000.
Right.
And the D.C. mayor saying, I have 350 to 500.
And they're going to do traffic.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what they were anticipating. Okay. Nowhere in that entire conversation is the White House requesting National Guard troops. The White House can. There's a process and a procedure for that. The White House never did. And that's why this reporting and this story is gaslighting. Because they are. Yes, they are. Because right there, you're saying, well, obviously the White House asked for these 10,000 troops. They didn't. They made an offer. That is an offer, not a request. They didn't ask for them. This is a different verb, and that's important. No, it's important.
Oh my gosh, Bill, you're dissecting stuff. You're the one that's gaslighting right now.
No, not at all, because I'm sticking with the narrative. The narrative is that Donald Trump never authorized 20,000 troops. Donald Trump never authorized 10,000 troops. Donald Trump never offered troops to Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump never requested a fast response team of 10,000. Donald Trump never requested 10,000 National Guard troops. He made an offer to the D.C. mayor. That has been known for over 2.5 years. I've seen the memo. I've read the memo. So this is not a surprise, but the narrative is new. We are now changing the narrative, going from Donald Trump requested these for Nancy Pelosi, and now now it's like he asked for them. He didn't. He didn't ask for any National Guard troops, but that article says he does.
No,
that is not accurate.
No.
You read it.
The
you read
point
the
is,
article.
no. Here's the point. Liz Cheney went out there with the other Democrats and a handful of Republicans during this January 6th committee and said things like there is no evidence to support Trump's officials' claims the White House had asked for 10,000 National Guard troops. No evidence.
And that is
no evidence. That
is
is not true.
That is
That is not true.
Where's the evidence they asked for the troops? Not the offer. Remember, offer is different. No, hang on a second.
Splicing in an effort to get out of it.
Okay, hang on a second.
Even the text message says you're splitting hairs, Bill.
Fine. Okay, hang on a sec. Here's the idea. Here's my cell phone. Okay, here's my Apple iPhone that I use for work. Okay. Now, if I offer the cell phone to you, am I requesting a cell phone? I'm offering it to you right now. Is this an ask from me? Am I asking for something? No, I'm giving it to you. That's why the verb is important. It's different. When they say that Donald Trump asked, it's saying, give me the cell phone. He didn't ask for the cell phone.
He was gave you the cell phone. Sham committee to politically go after Donald Trump, and it's starting to get picked apart.
Not at all. Not at all.
Because they're hiding. They were not being truthful. That's exactly what's happening.
Not in the least. Now, are they splitting hairs when they say Donald Trump never asked for the 10,000 National Guard troops? Yes, they're splitting hairs. Are they right? Yes. Has Donald Trump routinely said that he asked for them, which is incorrect? Yes. Did he make an offer? Yes. But that's an offer, not an ask. The verbs are different. If I offer something to you, it's different than me asking for something from you. That's different. And it's not hard to wrap your head around that. That's the issue.
All right. Who do you agree with here? I'd like to get calls. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. We're talking this article in the Federalist by Molly Hemingway. Liz Cheney, January 6th committee suppressed exonerating evidence of Trump's push for National Guard, or are they trying to rewrite this and, as Bill said, gaslight the general media on Trump's involvement on January 6th? I think it was a sham election or a sham committee that was put together to politically attack Donald Trump, and I think it's starting to get picked apart as that. I'd like to hear from you, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Call lines are starting to fill up. We'll get to your calls and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. A Mother's Day photo of Princess Catherine and her children has been withdrawn by the world's biggest international news agencies for allegedly being doctored. The Associated Press, Reuters, Getty and AFP issued kill notices after noticing multiple inconsistencies with the photo released by Kensington Palace. The suspect image has only inflamed rumours that Kensington Palace is not being transparent about the condition of the wife of the heir to the throne, who is reportedly recovering from abdominal surgery. The palace stated she would not be making public appearances until after Easter. China's biggest political gathering of the year wrapped up on Monday as delegates called for more investment and coordinated development of computing infrastructure to develop artificial intelligence. This comes amid fears of a widening gap with the United States. Laura Westbrook has more.
Beijing has set its sights on winning what one delegate called this crucial technological race. Last week, Chinese Premier Li Qiang singled out AI as a core industry that he would like to see developed further. Some attendees talked about a growing anxiety about the widening gap with the United States and called for more resources at a national level.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, we're talking this article published by Molly Hemingway. Liz Cheney, January 6th committee suppressed exonerating evidence of Trump's push for National Guard. And Bill and I had quite a conversation about that.
Yes,
so you
we
can
did.
watch that listen to that on the podcast or watch it on the YouTube channel. Let's go to Ben in Morrison. Good morning, Ben. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. How's it going? Can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Billy's 100% right on this. This is old news. It's been around for a long time. It's nothing new, and it's kind of just them trying to change the narrative on what actually happened. A lot of this stuff has been fact checked before.
Do you
and
think
basically what happened.
Donald Trump put forth an insurrection on January 6th?
I think he incited a riot. I wouldn't say it's necessarily an insurrection, but he definitely incited a riot. What had happened with security there was a couple days before that, he had offered some troops and said, hey, do you guys want these extra 10,000 guys? And the mayor said, no, I think we'll be okay, because probably they were looking at what they'd used in years past, for typical security during these events, and said, yeah, I think we're okay. We got, we're doing the same thing we did last year, but they weren't anticipating, a massive riot to break out that the president incited.
Do you think Donald Trump knew there was going to be a riot that broke out?
I don't think he necessarily knew, but he definitely lit the flames on it. He was pouring gas on it for about a month and a half up until then, and then threw the match at the very end.
And then by saying peacefully go up to the Capitol?
No, it'd be the 20 times he said fight, honestly.
Yeah, it's the 20 other violent times. You got to fight for the country, or you're going to lose your country. You have to do everything. Blah blah blah.
That's pretty much any political speech I've ever attended.
No, not generally. Not with that kind of rhetoric. You got to fight for your country, or you're going to lose it.
Joe Biden's State of the Union on the last week. We're going to fight for the country. We're going to fight for the future. Politicians say that all the time. I don't know where he incited the riot.
Yeah, but tell me during the State of the Union what Joe Biden said was stolen from him and why he'd have to fight for it, because that's the framework that Trump's working through on that speech. That things have been stolen from you, and if you don't fight for them, you can't have them back, and you're not going to have a country anymore.
And then says peacefully go up to the Capitol.
Again, but here's the thing: is if we were going to game plan, but if we were going to game plan that, and we were going to do a word cloud, he said peacefully and patriotically once, and he said fight. You're going to have to fight for your country 20 times. In the word cloud, what one is more prominent? It would be the fight. So you can't say that the message behind what he did on January 6th was about being peaceful when he says fight more often. If he had said peaceful that many times, sure. But the fact that he said it once, that doesn't mean anything. And the other
it doesn't negate the other 20 times.
Not at all. And if we think this is the problem with that formula is if we think because Donald Trump said peacefully and patriotically that everybody there was going to be peaceful and patriotic, what happens when he says fight? What do you expect? Why do we only expect them to behave when he says the one set of words, not the other? Why are we only saying they'd behave to that set of words, not the other set of words?
Fight. Joe Biden used fight at least 3 times.
I know,
in the State of the Union.
But I asked what he said was stolen from him, because that's the filter. Donald Trump says you have to fight because something was stolen. That's why the fighting was important, because of the steal. Remember, it was a Stop the Steal rally. The Stop the Steal people were there. They spoke. It was about something being stolen from you. That's why you had to fight. You don't get something back from you that's been stolen by being peaceful. That doesn't happen. When does that happen?
I don't think that incited a riot. Ben, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I mean, politicians use the word fight all the time, and that's not inciting. I think you guys are hair splitting again. Let's go to Joe in Denver. Joe, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking the call. First time calling in. I'm liking the show.
Thanks.
Hey, sure, Jeff. I think you're sort of representing a place where the Republican Party in a whole is going, which is sort of replacing logic and objectivity with emotion. And it's something that we always threw on the Democrats. If it just saves one child, if it just saves one life, let's shut down the entire economy, right? So, but when it comes to Donald Trump, the Republicans have really lost their sense of objectivity and replaced it with emotion. What Bill is saying is absolutely true, but even the smallest truth can't be admitted to, because then that's the thread that starts to unravel Trump. And until the Republican Party can get over that, you're going to have your 25 to 33% of Americans who believe it, are emotionally attached, can't separate themselves from Trump no matter what, and they're going to lose miserably in November.
Joe, why did Liz Cheney suppress the testimony of Deputy Chief of Staff Anthony Ornato that Donald Trump had encouraged the mayor and was willing to offer the mayor 10,000 National Guard troops?
See, you even got a wordplay there. He encouraged the mayor.
Right. He offered it. He offered it.
Did you read the testimony? He offered, right. And why would he think that they need 10,000 troops? Let me put it that way. Why would he want 10,000 troops?
Because he wanted to make sure Washington, D.C. was safe. It doesn't sound like a guy that wants to incite a riot and overturn an election. It is like, hey, let's bring in troops to make sure that doesn't happen.
Or maybe it's a guy who knew that all of his little minions out there were going to generate a riot or try to generate a riot. And if they had a riot against troops, then you would have an entirely different narrative and perspective. And Donald Trump would come out and say, the American army is turning on you. You have to fight back. There's your revolution right there.
Well, hold on. So, Joe,
is.
you called the show saying that we're rejecting logic and bringing emotion in, and you're arguing that Donald Trump wanted troops there so he could incite an insurrection in which would result in a military versus citizen civil war?
I said he's the kind of guy who would.
Oh, my gosh. All right, Joe, thanks for the call.
But
Joe's going to call in and say we're the ones engaging in emotion and not bringing in logic. And that's, he wanted troops there so he could have a bigger insurrection and a bigger riot.
I think,
and he's the type of guy that would want that.
Well, I think Joe has a point, though.
He doesn't.
On the perception, on the idea that why all of a sudden is it so important in the perception that Donald Trump wanted the troops there? What would be the reason?
Because they're suppressing exonerating evidence.
No.
That's the point.
What Joe's asking is, why would we need 10,000 troops there? Especially if, as you said, Donald Trump told them all to be peaceful and patriotic.
Right.
Why is it? But why is it an issue? Why would you need 10,000 troops to control a bunch of people that are peaceful and patriotic?
Because you want it to remain peaceful and patriotic.
No,
you don't want an insurrection.
But
this entire thing was about Donald Trump inciting an insurrection to steal the election.
But Donald Trump,
and you don't do that with 10,000 troops against you.
Wait. Donald Trump told them to be peaceful.
He did.
Okay, so that's the
and
narrative.
He's also smart enough to know that you have a lot of troops there to maintain the peace.
But the whole thing is that the argument that I keep hearing is that these people were peaceful. They're being kept as hostages.
No. You're switching on this.
No. And
You're switching on this. The point is whether or not Donald Trump incited it.
Yes.
That's what the impeachment was all about.
Yes, but
and you have plenty of evidence, the peaceful argument and 10,000 troops that shows he wasn't trying to incite an insurrection.
He said fight 20 times. The peaceful argument is not a good argument. But if his people were supposed to listen to him, if the idea that he told them to be peaceful, and we hear all the time on these phones that they were just tourists, they were wandering around and they were let in.
A lot of them were?
Yeah. You don't need 10,000 troops for people that are tourists. So again, if you really believe that the people on January 6th were not violent and tourists, it doesn't matter how many troops. You don't need the troops.
No.
So the fact that Donald Trump is requesting the troops.
You're gaslighting.
No. I'm just saying I understand where Joe's going with the question.
Let's go to Ron. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ron.
Morning.
Good morning. Wow. All right, let's go to Bridge. My 3 peacefuls trump your 20 fights. I win. I think you're just doing semantics. I just don't
That is
buy
a fair
it.
point. It's a fair
All
point.
the people that are calling up don't like Trump. They will never like Trump. They'll probably go down and applaud Kamala when she comes in. But what I wanted to say is the charter school thing. It's just a way for them to change the narrative because they can't use critical race theory in charter schools.
Yeah.
It's just a way to control the narrative and see if they can get away with it, so that they want these kids to grow up. They want it the way they want them to grow up. Soros, his son and daughter run the program now, and I think one of them lives here in Colorado, and they get away with being invisible. But the son runs the dollars that flow through the Soros banks.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing is, and I appreciate you letting me talk. I enjoyed the show. The last thing is Jefferson and Hamilton went back and forth and fought because Hamilton had somewhat controlled Washington because he was declining. And he said and wanted a corrupt government because that's the best thing for a nation. I'm reading his autobiography right now, and it's really frightening to think that Hamilton had control. He wanted a parliament, a House of Commons, because he could control the majorities and the narratives, but most importantly, as the Secretary of Treasury, he controlled the Bank of the United States.
Yeah.
And they eventually issued $20 million worth of notes paying people for their horses and food and stuff. And it became a big scam.
Ron, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Ron's line's going to be open 303-696-1971. It pains me. This is a text message here, Bill. It pains me, but I agree with Billy regarding the Trump riot. Also, I keep hoping the nominees are not the two old guys.
That is the disappointing one, is that this is the best we got. And then the idea is we've self-selected. I mean, we have nobody to blame but ourselves that we have these two awful choices.
I wonder how, here's another text message. I wonder how many FBI and inside agent provocateurs would have been arrested that day if the National Guard had been there.
Ask
yourself that.
The same number that were arrested on that day, 0, but that's okay. again, because, and then I appreciate the texture on that one because it's mental gymnastics. In order to not take responsibility for the actions that day, you have to assume that somebody else did them. And
or you just want the truth of everything that happened.
Yeah, and here's the example.
Which is what we want.
Here's the example. The idea that President Trump said, be peaceful and everything else, and that he told the protesters what to do. But then we have one dude with the last name of Epps that says one thing on that day, one time, and everybody follows him.
Or because they just want to see him prosecuted like everybody else.
Because that's what we know was there, is that in that group, the person whose voice was obviously going to be listened to more than Donald Trump, the person they were going to put more faith in, the person they were going to absolutely follow to the ends of the earth that day.
Why not
is
just
the one dude
prosecute him like everybody else?
Why
is
he that stands up and yells? He's being prosecuted. He's being prosecuted.
No, he's not.
Yes,
All right,
he is.
Go to
no,
Mary.
check. He is. He's being prosecuted right now. He's being prosecuted. Yes, he is. He's being charged.
They're gonna give him a suite at the Ritz.
Again,
Let's
here's
go
the
to
thing
Mary.
Is you just made an excuse. You were mad that what I said was that you weren't, that they actually are prosecuting him now, and now you make an excuse. That's the mental gymnastics that has to happen. We just watched it in real time, and I appreciate you sticking the landing. That was good.
Let's go to Mary in Wyoming. Mary is always a breath of fresh air.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
Mary, great to hear from you.
Right, sure I am. However, I have to say, where were the weapons? If all these people came to go ahead and take over government, where were their weapons? Where were their pitchforks? Where were their guns?
They have them with them. Well, they have a number of firearms that were taken that day. You have testimony
very
from
few, and there was a group.
Mary, I'll tell you where they are. But I'll tell you, you the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. But hang on a sec. Go back to that January 6th speech and listen to Donald Trump again, because about 2/3 of the way through the speech, Donald Trump acknowledges that the crowd has weapons. He tells you this in his speech. You don't have to listen to anybody else. You have to listen to Donald Trump. And in that speech, Donald Trump complains about the scanners keeping the crowd far away. He brags about the size of the crowd and says that Secret Service and the security are keeping those people too far away. And it's because they have weapons. And he wants them to be allowed through the security gates and the security barrier in order to be closer. He knows they have weapons. He's been told they have weapons, and that's why the crowd can't get close enough. He addresses
different.
it. No,
it's because you have a bunch of concealed carry people that are
Thank
being
you.
harassed.
But hang on
I
a sec.
conceal carry.
That's fine.
And
Yes.
like I said, and that's why I don't come to Colorado that often anymore.
No, yeah, I understand that, Mary, but you're asking where the
I
weapons
do
were.
conceal, and
I know, but
and I'm saying you look at what Antifa, BLM, and the rest of them, they bring that stuff to go ahead and do damage. They bring their little Molotov cocktails and stuff. These people did not, and there was so much. I mean, I am what I struggle with. I am a Trump voter. There is a difference then between a cultist, etc. I like the man's policies, and unfortunately, you need someone with his intensity to be able to make the changes. A Romney isn't going to do it. McCain couldn't do it. Unfortunately, you need the temperament of a Trump to make these changes that need to take place.
Mary, I agree entirely with you. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Mary. Question though: does something like a riot or a group that gets out of control, do they have to have weapons to make it a riot? Do they have to have weapons in order to be violent and or hurt someone?
Riot, yes.
No, they don't. They can make their weapons.
No.
And here'd be the reason. Because we have a guy that is going to be spending the next 4 years of his life in prison because he used a metal flagpole with an American flag on it to beat an officer. And we watched that live on TV. And he's admitted to it, and he's now spending time in prison for it. So the idea that they did not have weapons or couldn't fashion them. We saw them beating officers with their own shields and their own billy clubs. We saw the video of the officer that was being crushed between the doors because he couldn't get through, and he is screaming for his life because the people behind him, the people that are Trump supporters, are crushing him in the doorway. And Donald Trump, in that speech, acknowledges the crowd can't get close enough because of the weapons. Even if they are concealed carry, Mary, you were saying where were the weapons? Donald Trump tells you on January 6th they were there.
Did they use them against? I mean, that's what I'm struggling with. Just like luckily, I mean, I've been in protests from the very beginning, from the civil rights movement. So I've gone to jail. I've been arrested. I've been spit upon and all the rest of that stuff. But my point is that those people, even if I had been there with a concealed weapon, I wasn't bringing them out for something like that. Is that we're typical polite protesters.
Yeah,
and
typical.
you have to agree.
I agree. Yes, typically polite, but this was atypical. And these were Trump supporters, and it was atypical, and that's why it is outside of the bounds, and that's why personally, just being personally, because, again, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I sit in the independent aisle. We're not a homogenous group, but I believe I ask the questions and have the perception that makes the unaffiliateds angry at both parties, and this is something that is unusual. This is something that is not expected, but for the Trump supporters then to try to wash their hands of it and not take a responsibility.
No one's doing that.
That's what they're doing. Yes,
this
they are.
article was
Yes, they
all
are.
about being
Washing their
truthful and honest about it and not suppressing any additional evidence.
It would help if the article was truthful and honest.
It
That would help.
was.
No,
All
it wasn't.
right.
No,
Mary,
it
I
wasn't.
appreciate the call.
Oh,
Thanks so
Mary, you're the
much. Mary's line is open 303-696-1971. She's got a great voice, by the way.
Oh, she does.
I like
love
listening
hearing
to
from her.
Mary's voice.
She's someone that I would love to have lunch with and just hear stories. I would love to just hear the stories because she has seen and gone through things in this country that I've only read about. She's been there and experienced it, and that's why I love her voice. I love just her voice, not only listening to it, but just having her in the conversation. She means a lot.
303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
It's been a wild show today. Everything from Jimmy Kimmel and Donald Trump getting into it over the Oscars to Ryan Armagost, representative from House District 64, joining us as he's seeking to impeach Jenna Ellis. Kristi Burton Brown joined us in the 8 o'clock hour as Advanced Colorado Institute is trying to stop the Democrats at the state capitol from shutting down charter schools, which they're going after now. So all those are under attack. And then we got into this January 6th hidden testimony and Liz Cheney suppressing, exonerating evidence, and Bill not agreeing with that.
It's not exonerating.
It is absolutely. Why did she suppress it?
The idea, I don't think necessarily it's suppressed. The issue being, hang on a
She
sec.
kept it off the website.
Well, here's the thing is, it's not any new information or anything
Yes,
that disproves. No, it isn't. It's been around for 2.5 years. I've seen the memo. I told you that. I've read the memo. I've seen it 2.5 years because there's
It was
a
not
memo.
a memo, it was testimony.
No. There is a memo from the DC mayor outlining this and explaining what happened 2.5 years ago. That was public knowledge. Now they're just saying, hey, look, this person said, and again, realize inside of this, and as they're saying, suppressed. The narrative they are using inside of the journalistic story is not correct. The information was about an offer, not an ask, an offer to the DC mayor, not to Nancy Pelosi. So Donald Trump did not request National Guard troops, never has, never did. And that's the narrative this is trying to twist it into. So the idea is, so let's say that we include the testimony that Donald Trump offered 10,000 troops to the DC mayor, and she said no. And that proves what? Yeah, exactly.
It proved that I'm struggling with your.
Now you're struggling.
You are dancing around this in a way that only a defense attorney with a client caught with a hand in a cookie jar.
This is why the
could
show's
get
so much
out of
fun. I love
Liz
you so much.
Cheney got busted on this. We're up against a
This is
time break. We
great.
could have get about. She was hiding evidence.
No, she wasn't.
Jeff and Bill show.